Chapter 862. In the 70s and 80s, there was a Qigong craze in the country. At that time, many so-called Qigong masters emerged, all of them claiming to have mastered special abilities. They opened forums to give lectures, widely recruited disciples, and even published books, fooling a large number of people. At that time, under the deception of a certain master, many people thought that they could receive cosmic signals with a fine steel pot on their heads, and then they became immortals, which made a ridiculous farce. Later, under the attack of the country, these masters disappeared. With the arrival of the information age, people's wisdom gradually improved. Although the phenomenon of fraud was not completely eliminated, it did not cause any trouble. When Lu Chen was determined to create a big wuxia IP, he had conducted relevant investigations and consulted a lot of information, so he knew the situation very well. At that time, there were some old-style wuxia films in China and Hong Kong, which were related to this Qigong craze. He didn't expect that the new wuxia craze that he had created would also cause some dregs to rise up and change their names to martial arts masters and martial arts grandmasters. Their tricks were not much different from decades ago, but they used the internet as a platform to hype themselves up. For example, the video of Wang Feng, who sent more than a dozen people flying, was widely spread on the internet, and he was found out to be a disciple of a Qigong master in those days. Lu Chen could not tolerate this kind of swindler coming out to swindle people openly and smearing a layer of mud on the wuxia culture he advocated. Therefore, he directly denounced the swindler as a swindler on his blog and called on his fans not to be gullible. To this end, Lu Chen opened 2 new blog posts in a row, elaborating his views in detail. First of all, the new wuxia novels such as The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, and The Legend of the Condor Heroes belonged to fantasy literature, which was an artistic story based on traditional history and martial arts. The internal energy and true qi in them were the same as magic and fighting energy in fantasy novels, which were all fictitious. Secondly, Chinese martial arts had a long history, but the situation of inheritance was quite serious. The ancient martial arts skills had been passed down to the present day and had changed a lot. Basically, they mainly focused on strengthening the body. For example, in traditional martial arts, Kung Fu was undoubtedly the quintessence of the country, which was very valuable as a set of martial arts to strengthen the body. But to make internal energy for Kung Fu was not a problem in novels or movies, but it was nonsense in reality. As for Sonda and Lu Chen's own Kung Fu, in fact, they were actual combat skills like kickboxing and boxing. The level and ability were improved through strict training and battles. Any healthy person could learn it, and there was nothing mysterious about it. Therefore, it was a compliment to say that Wang Feng's videos were magic tricks. It was purely acting. The people who were sent flying and fell were all actors, which could not be believed at all. As soon as Lu Chen's blog post came out, he immediately got the support and approval of his fans. Although some water armies were still clamoring in his blog, they couldn't set off any storm. After writing 2 blog posts, Lu Chen no longer paid attention to this matter, because there was no need at all. If he really cared about those people too seriously, it would give the other party a chance to hype up. Kung Fu was divided into 3 parts, namely Sword of Mount Hua, Invincible East, and the Final Battle. They were scheduled to be finished within this year. The Sword of Mount Hua had been released during the National Day and was a great success. Therefore, Lu Chen changed the shooting and production plan of the next 2 parts, and postponed Invincible East, which was originally released during the Spring Festival, to the summer. The reason was actually very simple. Sword of Mount Hua was so successful that the audience's appetite had been raised. If the story and production quality of the second part could not be maintained or exceeded, it would inevitably affect the reputation of the series and the box office of the third part. The reason was actually very simple. It was because Sword of Mount Hua was too successful, and the audience's appetite had already been raised to a very high level. If the second installment storyline and production quality could not be maintained or surpassed, it would definitely affect the series' reputation and the box office of the third installment. Moreover, several film companies were preparing to shoot Kung Fu movies. The pressure of competition for Invincible East was no less than that of Sword of Mount Hua, if not even greater. Generally speaking, it was very difficult to make a sequel, especially if the first part was very successful. People would naturally compare it, which would be a lot of pressure for the director and the actors. And Invincible East is Lu Chen's first film directed by him. Lu Chen specially invited the famous director Chen Guozhi to direct The Sword of the Proud, Smiling Wanderer, Sword of Mount Hua. He himself was the action director. At the beginning, Chen Guozhi said that he would only direct one movie and would not make a sequel. Lu Chen had also considered inviting other directors to replace Chen Guozhi, but in the end, he chose to direct it himself. In order to become a qualified director, Lu Chen not only squeezed out a lot of time to learn, but also earnestly learned from Chen Guozhi during the shooting of Sword of Mount Hua. Chen Guozhi had always appreciated Lu Chen, and he was very supportive of Lu Chen's ideas, so he gave him a lot of guidance. It could be said that Sword of Mount Hua was completed by the two of them together. Through the training of this blockbuster film, although Lu Chen's directing skills could not be compared with Chen Guozhi's, it was basically no problem for him to finish a commercial film independently. Nevertheless, Lu Chen was not arrogant and conceited. In the process of directing and shooting the new film, he strived for excellence, especially in the design of action scenes. It can be said that he was under great pressure. Under such circumstances, it was completely unrealistic to rush the schedule. Lu Chen did not want to ruin the reputation that he had worked so hard to build up. In order to ensure the quality, he had to make double efforts, so it was necessary to delay the release of Invincible East. On November 15th, the crew of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer arrived in Yu Province. Mount Song was the most important shooting location for the second two parts of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer. The crew would film here until the Spring Festival. Mount Song was located in the west of Yu Province, northwest of Dengfeng City, and west of the ancient capital Luoyang. It belonged to the Funyo Mountains, with a total area of about 450 square kilometers. Composed of Mount Taisher and Mount Shaosher, it had a profound cultural heritage. It was the birthplace of Zen Buddhism and the holy land of Taoism. It was the middle mountain of the 5 sacred mountains. This famous mountain had a long history and cultural tradition. Since ancient times, countless literati and poets had left countless articles and poems, as well as many historical relics, which were very suitable for the story background of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer. The two major sects in the Smiling, Proud Wanderer, Shaolin Temple and Mount Song sect were both located in Mount Song. In addition, in order to save time and cost, the exterior of Blackwood Cliff was also completed in Mount Song. Chapter 863. The day the crew of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer arrived in Dengfeng, they were warmly welcomed by the local government. At the reception banquet held by the Tourism Bureau in the evening, the leaders of the Dengfeng government and the heads of many important departments were present. The reception was very high standard. It was not that the government officials were chasing after stars. They were chasing after the god of wealth who could bring benefits to the local area. The first song of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer, Sword Out of Mount Hua had a box office of more than 1 billion in 1 month, which brought a martial arts craze in China. Lu Chen and Xinfei Media were the direct beneficiaries, but there were also related parties who shared a lot of benefits. For example, Ningxian Film and Television City became famous with the help of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer. With the investment of Xinfei Media, the endangered tourism project was full of vitality and vitality. Big fans came from all over the country, and the ticket income soared by dozens of times. It also led to the development of the local tourism industry. Mount Hua was also famous. Compared with Ningxian's scenic area, the Mount Hua scenic area was more famous. The positive influence of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer was not as great as Ningxian, but it was enough to make the local tourism department happy. Now the Sword Out of Mount Hua began to be screened in Southeast Asian countries, which had a greater influence. It was not a fairy tale that a popular movie could drive the tourism of a place. It was a proven business example. It was reasonable that Dengfeng City was enthusiastic about the arrival of the crew of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer. Dengfeng City was a famous historical city. The Xia dynasty built its capital in Dengfeng, which was called Yudiyang City. Because it was located at the southern foot of Mount Song, tourism had always been one of the important pillar industries of Dengfeng City. Although there were famous mountains and ancient temples, the development of tourism in Dengfeng City was not smooth in recent years. Mount Song was not as famous as Mount Tai, Mount Hua, and Mount Huang. It lacked special attractions, so the tourism economy grew very slowly. Since the beginning of the new century, the domestic tourism industry had a blowout development. The number of domestic and foreign tourists increased greatly, especially during holidays. The popular attractions were often crowded, which created a lot of benefits for the local economy. The tourism industry was too big, and there were too many places that wanted a piece of it. Therefore, the competition was very fierce. Nowadays, tourists not only wanted to have fun, but also to have special attractions. In this regard, Dengfeng City's competitiveness was not strong enough. The government had tried to build a new tourism economy several times, but the results were not satisfactory. Therefore, when Xinfei Media took the initiative to contact the relevant departments of Dengfeng City and applied to shoot the smiling, proud wanderer in Mount Song, the local authorities were overjoyed and immediately reported it to the municipal government. The head of the government directly made the decision to cooperate with the production team to the greatest extent and personally attended the reception. Mr. Lu Chen, Miss Chen Fei, the mayor of Dengfeng City was surnamed Lu. He was a handsome middle-aged man with an elegant temperament. He held up his wine glass and said with a smile, "On behalf of the 500,000 people in Dengfeng City, I welcome your arrival. I also hope that the crew of the smiling, proud wanderer can shoot smoothly in Dengfeng City and bring the scenery of Mount Song to the whole country." Lu Chen and Chen Fei, stood up and clinked glasses with him. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Thank you, Mayor Lu. We will definitely work hard." Although the people of Dengfeng City showed great enthusiasm because they needed help from the crew, Lu Chen did not think that they were spoiled, because friendly cooperation was beneficial to both sides. The crew of the smiling, proud wanderer was shooting in Mount Song, which could bring great benefits to Dengfeng City. The strong cooperation of the local government could also save the crew a lot of trouble and a lot of money. Therefore, Lu Chen maintained enough respect for the mayor of Dengfeng City, which also made the atmosphere of the banquet extraordinarily harmonious and friendly. Mayor Lu drank up the wine in his glass and said, "Our government will fully cooperate with your crew. If you need anything, just tell us. As long as we can solve it, we will not delay or be perfunctory." What he said was not polite, but a real promise. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, "There is really one thing that needs your support." Mayor Lu was stunned for a moment and then said with a smile, "Okay, let's sit down and talk." After sitting down again, Lu Chen thought about what to say and then said, "Mayor Lu, our crew came to Dengfeng City this time to shoot mainly for 3 scenic spots, one of which is the Shaolin Temple." Mayor Lu nodded and said, "Well, I know the Shaolin Temple. It is an ancient temple with a long history. Is there a problem?" There was a big problem. In Lu Chen's dream world, there were thousands of temples in the world, and the Shaolin Temple was the most famous, to the point that everyone knew it. It was also the most famous tourist card of Dengfeng City, even overshadowing Mount Song itself. But in reality, the Shaolin Temple was not famous at all. In the Mount Song scenic area, it was just a relatively famous jungle. In the whole country, it could not even be ranked second or third. Before coming to Dengfeng City, Lu Chen deliberately asked people to go to the Shaolin Temple to take a lot of photos and videos. As a result, he found that the world-famous temple in the dream world was quite old and even a little dilapidated, lacking adequate repair and construction. This did not match the status of the Shaolin Temple in the novel, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. At the very least, it should have a decent facade. In reality, the facade of the Shaolin Temple was ordinary, not much different from an ordinary temple. Its status in Dengfeng City could be heard from Mayor Lu's words. Lu Chen briefly explained the problem of shooting, and Mayor Lu suddenly understood. "So that's how it is. Then we can change to another temple. For example, the Songshan Temple is very good. At worst, we can change the temple sign temporarily." The Songshan Temple was the largest jungle in Mount Song, with the famous Songshan Temple Pagoda. It was a national cultural protection unit. The local government allocated a lot of money for maintenance and repair every year, which was much better than the Shaolin Temple in all aspects. Lu Chen also knew about the Songshan Temple. He smiled and said, "Part of the Songshan Temple can be used, but I hope to put more shots in the Shaolin Temple." After a pause, Lu Chen continued, "Chunfei Media is willing to donate 30 million to the Shaolin Temple for the repair and construction of the temple. I only hope that the government can give support and complete the specific work as soon as possible to meet the needs of our shooting." Donating 30 million to the Shaolin Temple for repair and construction, just for the shooting needs? Lu Chen's proposal surprised the officials, including Mayor Lu. Was it necessary? Chapter 864. Dangfeng City has such a grand reception for the crew of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. Of course, they have a lot of understanding of Lu Chen. They know that Chunfei Media has strong strength. The films and TV series produced are all big sellers and have a great influence. They wanted to use this influence to promote the development of local tourism with the help of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer. But they didn't expect that Lu Chen would donate a huge sum of money to Shaolin Temple. Everyone was stunned. Mayor Lu was not an ordinary person after all. He kept calm and asked, "Mr. Lu Chen, what is the nature of your donation? We can discuss it." In his mind, Lu Chen couldn't take out 30 million for nothing. He said that he needed the support of the government to cooperate with the shooting, but he was just being polite. He had expressed his strong support before. Dingfeng's sincerity was beyond doubt. Lu Chen smiled and said, "That is the nature of the donation. No additional conditions are needed. As long as you agree, 30 million can be transferred to your designated account tomorrow." Lu Chen could understand the mayor's doubts. If it were him, he would also feel that it was unbelievable. But Lu Chen didn't propose to donate 30 million because he had too much money or he was confused. First of all, it was the need of the shooting. He didn't lie about this. Shaolin Temple was obviously not qualified to be the shooting site of the second and third part of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer. Of course, as Mayor Lu said, it was just a matter of changing the signboard of Songshan Temple. There was no need to go through so much trouble. But Shaolin Temple was Shaolin Temple, which couldn't be replaced by Songshan Temple. And in Lu Chen's wuxia IP plan, this 1,000-year-old temple had a very special position. All the kung fu in the world came from Shaolin. In The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, the Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber, Demigods and Semi-Devils, and other wuxia works, Shaolin Temple was the leader of the martial arts world. It couldn't be an old and rundown temple, right? If Lu Chen wanted to promote wuxia culture, he couldn't ignore Shaolin Temple. And Shaolin Temple's historical origin was also very suitable for wuxia culture. It was easy to change the signboard of Shaolin Temple, but the most essential thing would be lost. Therefore, not only can the Shaolin Temple not be touched, but it must also be perfected and become a real hot spot. Now that he had invested 30 million yuan, he could get 10 times or even 100 times the return in the future. The most direct benefit was this cause and effect. In the future, it would be simple and easy to shoot in the Shaolin Temple. The local government would get substantial benefits and would also strongly support and cooperate. The officials, including Mayor Lu, finally realized that Lu Chen was not joking. He was really going to take out real money, and he was definitely not drunk. This was because Chen Fei, Lu Shi, and the others who were sitting next to him didn't show any surprise. Obviously, they already knew about it. Lu Chen added, "There is one thing I must emphasize. This money can only be used in the Shaolin Temple. I hope you can understand." Mayor Lu came to his senses and laughed. "I understand. To be honest, I was a little confused just now, but I believe in the sincerity of your company. Of course, our government will strongly support you." After a pause, he said, "But Mr. Lu Chen, with all due respect, Shaolin Temple is a historical site and also a cultural protection unit of our local area. It has not been well repaired and protected because of the lack of funds in the past, but it is reasonable to not let your company pay for this money." The change of the mayor's words stunned everyone present. Lu Chen and others were naturally puzzled. Did he not want the money that was delivered to his door? Did he want his face more than his money? The subordinate officials were stunned, especially the director of the local tourism bureau, whose face turned red. Even if this money was earmarked for special purposes, it would also be of great benefit to the overall situation of the tourism industry of Dangfeng City. Why did Mayor Lu reject the goodwill of Chunfei Media? He wanted to shout a few times, but he didn't dare to speak. The depression in his heart was really speechless. Mayor Lu smiled and said, "However, we really need the help of external funds, so my suggestion is to follow the Ningxan model and set up a Songshan Shaolin Temple Industrial Development Company, which will be operated by our municipal government, Shaolin Temple, and Chunfei Media. What do you think, Mr. Lu Chen?" Lu Chen didn't expect Mayor Lu to put forward such a suggestion, but he immediately understood the other party's idea and couldn't help but admire him. This great mayor really had a high standard. On the one hand, Dangfeng City could accept the capital investment of Chunfei Media in a righteous and dignified manner, build a new tourist hotspot around the Shaolin Temple, and promote the local tourism industry. On the other hand, it was also to tie Chunfei Media to this chariot, which was conducive to future development. He was following the example of Ningxan. In order to pull the crew of the smiling, proud wanderer over, Ningxan directly gave up the shares of Ningxan Film and Television City to Chunfei Media. Facts proved that this was a win-win cooperation, and it could be called a commercial success. Mayor Lu had obviously studied it before. He even said the words Ningxan model. However, although he was the mayor of Dangfeng, it was impossible for him to completely imitate Ningxan. Ningxan's Shadow Vision City included the core essence of Ningxan's scenic area. Mount Song's Shaolin Temple Industrial Development Company was also limited to Shaolin Temple. If he gave up the shares of Songshan's scenic area, it would inevitably be obstructed by vested interests, and Chunfei Media didn't have such a big appetite. Now it was just Shaolin Temple, the local resistance would certainly be gone, and they would give strong support. What was rare was that Mayor Lu's proposal was undoubtedly just thought of by him, and it was not a plan that had been in his mind for a long time. But it was very in line with the actual situation, and it was also a win-win cooperation. At this time, the leaders in charge were suddenly enlightened, and the director of the tourism bureau stared at Lu Chen with burning eyes. They couldn't think of a reason for Lu Chen to refuse. Of course, Lu Chen couldn't refuse. He looked at Lu Shi next to him and said with a smile, "I think it's good, but if you want to invest in the company, 30 million yuan is definitely not enough. We'll talk about the details later." In addition, Lu Chen turned to Chen Fei and said, "Fei, you tell him." Chen Fei nodded and said softly, "In addition, Lu Chen and I have decided to donate another 20 million yuan in our own names for the construction of the local school in Dangfeng City and financial aid for poor students." Mayor Lu was stunned, and his face became serious. He raised his palm. Soon, warm applause sounded in the box. Chapter 865. As the most popular stars in the domestic entertainment industry, Lu Chen and Chen Fei have a common characteristic, that is, they never put on airs and never think that they are superior to others. Therefore, in the circle, the two have more friends than enemies. Similarly, Chunfei Media, which was co-founded by the two, also continues this style. They act in an upright manner, pay attention to win-win and mutual benefit, and treat their partners sincerely. Just like this time, when they came to climb the peak to shoot, the attitude of the local government was very warm, flattering and polite, but Lu Chen did not think that this was a matter of course, nor would he give birth to arrogance and contempt. Previously, he donated to the Shaolin Temple to show the sincerity of cooperation. Now he made a personal donation, which was also based on the need to establish a good relationship with Dangfeng and lay the most solid foundation for long-term cooperation in the future. Originally, when shooting Sword of Mount Hua, Lu Chen donated 30 million yuan in Ningxan. And his attitude undoubtedly won the praise of all the local officials, including Mayor Lu, who almost patted their chests to promise to support and cooperate with the crew. The next day, Lu Chen and Chen Fei, together with many members of the crew, accompanied by Mayor Lu and several officials, visited the Shaolin Temple of Mount Song. The Shaolin Temple was located at the foot of the Five Breasts Peak of Mount Song in Dangfeng City. Because it was located in the dense jungle of the Shaoshi Mountain in the hinterland of Mount Song, it was named Shaolin Temple. It was built in the 19th year of Taihe of the Northern Wei dynasty, 495. It was built by Emperor Xiaowen at the northern foot of the Shaoshi Mountain of Mount Song, opposite the capital of Luoyang, in order to settle the Indian monk he admired. This 1,000-year-old temple had been destroyed several times in the war and rebuilt several times. Because it was the ancestral court of the Zen of Han Buddhism, it became a provincial cultural protection unit and was also a scenic spot in the Mount Song scenic area. However, because of the local lack of funds, and the Shaolin Temple was not very famous, the temple that Lu Qin saw with his own eyes could not be compared with the memory in the dream world. The walls of the temple were old and a little dilapidated. It was unknown how long it had been since the paint on the surface of the wall was painted. It was mottled, peeling, and even invaded by moss. The main entrance of the temple was ordinary and did not have the grandeur of a famous temple. On the horizontal board hanging under the eaves of the corridor, the golden characters written by the Qianlong Emperor were dull and bleak. If such a scene was recorded in a movie, the audience would definitely laugh their heads off. The dignified world's #1 sect was acting like this. Who were they trying to fool? In front of the Shaolin Temple, there was a fence for tourists to enter and exit, but there were very few tourists. Basically, they came to burn incense and worship Buddha, and it seemed that the incense was not very strong. After asking around, Lu Qin learned that the first choice for tourists and pilgrims who came to Mount Song to pray to Buddha was the Songshan Temple. The Shaolin Temple only began to collect admission tickets in recent years. The annual income of the Shaolin Temple was about hundreds of thousands. Speaking of this, the local tourism bureau chief was very embarrassed, because they proposed to set up a Shaolin Temple Industrial Development Company, and the Shaolin Temple itself was not a very good asset. Hundreds of thousands of admission fees a year. Lu Qin was a little speechless when he heard this. In the dream world, this 1,000-year-old temple was known as the world's #1 temple, and its reputation spread all over the world. The annual income from admission tickets alone was as high as 300 to 400 million, plus other income. The benefits created were quite amazing. However, the success of the Shaolin Temple in the dream world was not without reason. At first, it was also very bitter. Later, because of the movie Shaolin Temple, it became very popular in the country, and it ushered in a leap of development. In the real world, without this movie, the Shaolin Temple had been silent until now. Lu Qin had a faint feeling that he was creating history, so he did not care about the current predicament that the Shaolin Temple was facing. He came to change. However, although it was dilapidated, there were still real things in the Shaolin Temple, such as the Sutra Depository and the Pagoda Forest, especially the Shaolin Pagoda Forest, which had more than 240 brick and stone tombs from the Tang dynasty to the Qing dynasty. The tombs of these Shaolin monks were of different sizes, thicknesses, and forms. At present, the Shaolin Temple was applying to become a national cultural protection unit. In addition, there were also Dharma Cave, Dew Terrace, and other attractions. There were many pine and cypress trees in the temple, many of which were ancient trees that were hundreds or even thousands of years old, so the temple's heritage was quite deep. In addition to these scenery, Shaolin martial arts were also a major feature of the Shaolin Temple. The Shaolin Temple was the ancestral court of Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism focused on enlightening one's mind, seeing one's nature, and achieving enlightenment to become Buddha. The monks practiced martial arts to achieve the goal of restraining one's mind and nature, and to stop thinking and meditate. At the same time, it also had the intention of strengthening one's body and prolonging one's life. The Shaolin Temple had always had the habit of raising monk soldiers. The Shaolin Temple's warrior monks were quite famous. Originally, the warrior monks and monk soldiers were to protect the temple from bandits, but now it had become a tourist attraction. The Shaolin Temple's current abbot, Shi Yongda, was a burly middle-aged monk. He was very warm and polite to the arrival of the local officials and Lu Qin. Obviously, he already knew the relevant news. Accompanied by the abbot, Lu Qin and the others visited the Mahavira Hall, the Sutra Depository, the Pagoda Forest, and other places. Finally, they watched the performance of the warrior monks. There were not many Shaolin warrior monks. Only a dozen or so participated in the performance. However, the boxing and stick techniques they performed were quite wonderful. They had some real kung fu, which was not something that could be compared to pure routines. Seeing that Lu Chen was fascinated, Shi Yongda said to him with a smile, "Benefactor Lu, if you choose to make a movie in the Shaolin Temple, all of our Shaolin warrior monks can listen to your instructions and participate in the shooting." The abbot was not an ascetic monk who did not pay attention to the outside world. He knew very well how important this opportunity was to the Shaolin Temple, so he showed a posture of full cooperation. Lu Chen nodded and suddenly asked, "Can I spar with the master of your esteemed temple and learn from each other?" Since they were shooting a movie in the Shaolin Temple, these ready-made warrior monks must be used. However, it was not enough to just watch the performance. He wanted to test their skills. Of course, it was also because of the memory plot in the dream world. Shi Yongda obviously did not expect Lu Chen to make such a request. He hesitated for a moment and couldn't help but look at Mayor Lu. What should he do? For the Shaolin Temple, Lu Chen was definitely a distinguished guest among distinguished guests. Fists and feet had no eyes, and there were risks in a spar. If he was injured, wouldn't he offend someone? And if he went easy on him, would Lu Chen be dissatisfied? The abbot was very conflicted for a moment. The corner of Mayor Lu's mouth twitched, but he did not give him any hint. He was undoubtedly letting him make the decision himself. After hesitating for a moment, Shi Yongda braced himself and said, "It's okay to spar," but Lu Chen knew his scruples and said with a smile, "The sparring will stop here. I know what I'm doing." Since he had said so, Shi Yongda had to agree and arrange for a warrior monk to spar with Lu Chen. Chapter 866. Shaolin Kung Fu had a long history and could be traced back to more than 1,500 years ago. In the last years of the Sui dynasty, 13 Shaolin monks helped Tang Emperor Li Shimin to defeat Wang Shichong, and Shaolin Kung Fu gradually became famous. During the 5 dynasties, the eminent monks of Shaolin Temple invited 18 martial arts masters to perform in the temple. They practiced for 3 years, learning from each other's strong points and keeping the essence. They compiled the Shaolin Fist Manual. It could be said that from the Sui, Tang, Jin, and Yuan dynasties, Shaolin martial arts developed rapidly and gradually matured. Shaolin Temple became famous for its martial arts in the Ming and Qing dynasties, especially during the Jiajing period of the Ming dynasty. More than 80 Shaolin monks, led by Yuekong and others, bravely went to the battlefield and defeated the enemy. More than 30 monks died for the country and wrote a sad story. On the contrary, in modern times, with the invasion of Western civilization, the Shaolin Temple gradually declined and became silent. Today, its reputation is not prominent, and it has become an ordinary ancient temple scenic spot. However, although the temple had been destroyed by the flames of war several times, the Shaolin martial arts and the legacy of the Shaolin monks had never been cut off. To this day, the Shaolin Temple still retained a team of about 20 monks who practiced diligently every day. The monk chosen by the abbot of Shaolin Temple Shi Yongda to spar with Lu Chen was also a monk of the Shi generation, Shi Yongzhen. He was about 30 years old, tall and sturdy, with a rough appearance, thick eyebrows, big ears, and a pair of bright eyes. The joints on his hands were exceptionally thick, and they were covered with calluses. Obviously, he had been practicing martial arts for many years. What a fierce warrior! Seeing this monk, Lu Chen could not help but marvel in his heart. This trip to Shaolin Temple on Mount Song was really the right choice. Just now, he was worried that Shi Yongda would be reluctant to send out a real master, so the competition would be meaningless. Shi Yongzhen raised his palm and bowed to Lu Chen. Shi Yongzhen of Shaolin Temple greets you, benefactor. His voice was deep and rough, and there was an indescribable power in his movements. This kind of martial artist's aura could not be seen or touched, but others could feel it. Mayor Lu, who accompanied Lu Chen, couldn't help but have his face change slightly, and his eyes couldn't help but look at Shi Yongda. This monk looked very powerful. Was it really appropriate for him to compete with Lu Chen? If he were to hurt the honored guest, Shi Yongda gave Mayor Lu a reassuring look. He was very confident in his junior brother's strength. Moreover, only a true master could control and release his strength freely in a competition. In this way, he would not damage Shaolin Temple's reputation, and he could also control the rhythm and not hurt his opponent. Lu Chen cupped his fists in return and said, "Please advise me, master." Ever since the battle with Li Chiol-sung, the founder of the Korean Taekwondo Musang sect, at the beginning of the year, although many people had challenged Lu Chen had never fought with outsiders again. He usually fought with the members of the Lu family squad. This battle with the Shaolin monks had once again aroused his desire to fight. Since Lu Chen was well prepared before he came, he only wore clothes and shoes that were convenient for him to move around in. He only took off his outer clothes, and after a simple warm-up, he began the official match with Shi Yongjin. The others stood at the edge of the martial arts arena to watch, and some staff members set up cameras to record. Such a scene had to be recorded. Ha! Shi Yongjin made the first move. With a deep roar, he strode forward and punched straight at Lu Chen. What this Shaolin monk was displaying was the famous Shaolin fist. The Shaolin fist was strong and powerful, simple and unadorned. Its moves were simple but beneficial for actual combat. It was not something that ordinary routines could compare with. When Shi Yongjin moved forward, his feet rose, knees followed, and hips chased were very standard. His lower body was as stable as Mount Tai, and his punches were fierce and powerful. He deeply understood the essence of punching in a line, showing his profound foundation. When he punched, the wind from his fist howled, but he still retained some strength. Even so, Lu Chen didn't dare to meet the attack head-on. He immediately moved to dodge, and at the same time, twisted his waist and raised his right leg to kick at his opponent like lightning. Shi Yongjin's reaction was very fast. When his fist missed, he immediately crossed his arms to block Lu Chen's side kick. Bang! The collision of the leg and arm produced a dull sound. Shi Yongjin's body suddenly swayed, and a trace of surprise flashed on his dark face. The strength of Lu Chen's leg was beyond his expectation. This Shaolin monk finally became serious. He turned around and punched again, this time increasing the strength of his fist to 90%. Shi Yongjin's fists were firm and ferocious, every move he made was either attacking or defending. There were no showy moves, but every instantaneous change in his fists could achieve the three effects of blocking, defending, and attacking. His fists were upright, so every move he made gave people a soul-stirring feeling, causing people to be unable to help but break out in cold sweat for Lu Chen. If it was just a competition of strength and foundation, Lu Chen was not as good as this monk who had trained hard in the Shaolin Temple for more than 20 years. In a head-on confrontation, he would most likely lose. But Lu Chen's advantage was that he was flexible, and his reflexes were very fast. Moreover, his self-created kung fu gave him a natural advantage in close combat, so his punches and kicks were evenly matched with Shi Yongjin. Bang! 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 Both sides fought back and forth. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 10 rounds. Shi Yongjin was gradually getting angry, while Lu Chen was getting more and more excited. It was hard to find an opponent. With his current status, it was impossible for him to go around and compare notes with others. At most, he would fight with the Lu family's class in the training hall. It was difficult for him to go all out and fight to his heart's content. Hey! When the fight reached its climax, Shi Yongjin channeled his true power into his arms and punched out, heavily striking towards Lu Chen's chest. Lu Chen raised his arms in front of his body, firmly blocking his attack. Bang! Bang! The sound of the collision made people tremble with fear. Stop! At this time, Mayor Lu, who was watching the fight, shouted. Shi Yongjin and Lu Chen stopped their movements at the same time. They saw the big mayor hurriedly run over and said with a bitter smile, "Fists and kicks have no eyes. Can the two of you stop when the fight is over?" Mayor Lu did not know martial arts. Just now, he was on tenterhooks. He was afraid that if they continued fighting like this, sooner or later something would happen. If something really happened, he, as the mayor, would also have to bear the blame. Although Lu Chen did not feel satisfied, he also knew Mayor Lu's scruples. Besides, he was a guest, after all, so he could not be too willful. Thus, he said with a smile, "All right, Master Yongjin has a profound skill. I won't be able to win if we continue fighting." Shi Yongjin shook his head and said in a deep voice, "You're very strong. I don't have the confidence to beat you." Whether it was martial arts or boxing, it was actually a competition of strength, speed, and reflexes. On the contrary, the moves were not that important. Shi Yongjin had the advantage in the former, and Lu Chen was stronger in the latter. Both of them did not have the confidence to win in the fight, and both of them had a feeling of appreciation for each other. Mayor Lu said with a smile, "Meeting a match is also a good story." The atmosphere of the scene suddenly became relaxed. Chapter 867. After the competition, Lu Chen and the others had a vegetarian meal in the Shaolin Temple. The vegetarian meal in the Shaolin Temple was quite famous. The chef was a national super chef, and his annual salary was millions. However, he was born in Shaolin and believed in Buddhism, so he had been working as a chef in the temple. Lu Chen and the others were full of praise for the vegetarian meal, and many details of the cooperation were finalized during the meal. For the Shaolin Temple, the Shaolin Industrial Development Company, which was jointly established by the Dengfeng city government and Xinfei media, was like a pie falling from the sky, and they welcomed it with open arms. Shi Yongda, the abbot of the Shaolin Temple, was not a pedantic person. He was very supportive of this cooperation. Therefore, except for some specific terms, the general intention of the three parties was basically settled, and there were no major obstacles. After the vegetarian meal, Shi Yongda warmly invited Lu Chen to leave a calligraphy for the Shaolin Temple. This was also the custom of the temple. When there were important guests visiting, they would ask them to leave their calligraphy to show their respect. Of course, not everyone knew calligraphy, and it was the same to sign and leave their name. The great abbot had some understanding of Lu Chen and knew that Lu Chen knew calligraphy. Otherwise, his proposal would offend people instead of joining in the fun. Lu Chen thought for a moment and agreed. When Lu Chen was a child, he learned calligraphy from his grandfather and won the first prize in the city's primary school calligraphy competition. As a representative of Binhai City, he participated in the provincial competition. It was not until he was in high school and university that he gradually abandoned it. However, his foundation was still there, and under the influence of Mo Ran in the dream world, he occasionally took time to practice martial arts. He had also written about it on his blog, so many people knew that his handwriting was good. In the meditation room of the Shaolin Temple, Lu Chen picked up a brush and wrote on the rice paper, "The world's martial arts come from Shaolin." His calligraphy could not be said to be very strong, and it was certainly much worse than a real calligrapher, but it was definitely among the best in the entertainment circle. Moreover, he practiced martial arts in Shaolin, so his writing had the momentum of martial arts. These few words were written with great strength, and the brush was like a dragon swimming in the air. Good writing. Both Mayor Lu and Shi Yongda praised in unison. Both of them knew calligraphy, especially Shi Yongda, who was an expert in this field. Naturally, he could distinguish the quality of the calligraphy. As a young man in his 20s and not a professional calligrapher, Lu Chen's calligraphy was very good. The most important thing was that the 7 words, "All the martial arts in the world originate from Shaolin," raised the status of Shaolin Temple to a very high level. Lu Chen was not exaggerating. The saying, "All the martial arts in the world originates from Shaolin," had existed since ancient times, but not many people knew about it. Most of those who knew about it did not agree with it. Shaolin Temple was not in a position to boast about itself. As an extremely influential celebrity, Lu Chen's praise for Shaolin Temple was stronger than any advertisement. Shi Yongda immediately decided to frame it properly and place it in the reception hall for all the guests to see. After the trip to Shaolin Temple, Lu Chen and his companions returned to the hotel. That night, the official account of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer released the video of the fight between Lu Chen and Shi Yongjin on his blog. Lu Chen and Xinfei Media reposted the video at the same time, which immediately attracted a lot of netizens. "Awesome, my Chen. This monk is also very good. He is on par with my Chen. Not bad, not bad. Wonderful. This kung fu is simply making my blood boil. Shaolin Temple? Where is it from? Damn, haven't you read the novel of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer? In the novel, Shaolin Temple is the biggest sect in the world. There really is a Shaolin Temple? I am so ignorant. Shaolin Temple was quite famous in Dengfeng, and almost all the locals knew about it. But in the whole country, very few people knew about it. Among Lu Chen's fans, only those who had read the original novel of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer knew about Shaolin Temple. The first song of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer, Sword of Mount Hua, did not mention Shaolin Temple, so many fans did not know about it. It was reasonable for them to be surprised by the fight between Lu Chen and Shaolin Temple. But when the video of the fight spread quickly on the internet, Shaolin Temple's fame suddenly soared. Many people searched for information about Shaolin Temple through search engines and found out that Shaolin Temple had a glorious history. On October 18, Dengfeng city government held a press conference, announcing that the city government, Qinfei Media and Shaolin Temple would jointly establish Shaolin Temple Industry Development Company, Limited, to promote Shaolin Wushu culture and promote the development of Mount Song tourism. Qinfei Media invested 300 million, accounting for 40% of the shares, Shaolin Temple invested 40% of the shares, and Dengfeng city government invested 300 mu of land and woodland near Shaolin Temple, accounting for 20% of the shares. The newly established Shaolin Temple Industry Development Company, Limited would not only invest in the renovation and expansion of Shaolin Temple, but also establish Shaolin Temple Martial Arts Research Center and Shaolin Dojo. The former would study Shaolin Kung Fu, and the latter would be used to cultivate Shaolin martial arts talents. According to Lu Chen's plan, Shaolin Dojo would become the talent training base of the Lu family squad, continuously providing new blood for his wuxia IP plan. In many people's view, Qinfei Media had suffered a big loss by spending 300 million to buy 40% of Shaolin Temple's shares, because the whole Shaolin Temple might not be worth 300 million. In fact, as long as they could find a suitable place, they could build a temple bigger than Shaolin Temple with 100 or 200 million. Why would they invest so much money without controlling the shares? But in Lu Chen's view, the money spent was absolutely worth it. Once Shaolin Temple became famous, they could completely recover the cost by selling tickets, and they could even make a lot of money. Now it was not a big problem for Qinfei Media to control the shares, but when Shaolin Temple was really making money, the problem would be very sensitive. Because Shaolin Temple itself was a cultural protection unit, the country had policy restrictions. So in order to avoid future troubles, giving up the controlling shares and establishing a friendly cooperative relationship with Dengfeng city government and Shaolin Temple was the way to long-term benefits. And this money was not a one-time investment, so there was not much pressure for Qinfei Media. In addition, Qinfei Media also announced that after shooting the last two parts of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, they would invest 150 million to shoot a movie under the name of Shaolin Temple, which was expected to be released during the Spring Festival of 2020. Such a series of big moves, coupled with the spontaneous promotion of the media, countless people were looking at Dengfeng and Shaolin Temple. On October 19, Shaolin Temple official V went online on Wave's blog, and the number of fans exceeded 100,000 on the same day. At the same time, the filming of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, in Mount Song was in full swing. Chapter 868. Achoo! The tickling sensation made Xia Sang sneeze involuntarily. She opened her eyes in a daze and saw two familiar smiling faces and a strand of hair fluttering in front of her eyes. Happy birthday, Sang! Xia Sang didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the little prank played by her classmate and best friend. You guys are so annoying. One of her best friends, Lin Fong, laughed and said, "It's your 18th birthday today. Are you going to lie in bed and sleep all day? Hurry up and get up. Let's go shopping and dress up. Don't forget that you have your first birthday party tonight." Xia Sang pouted and said, "All right." Xia Sang was a senior student at High G No. 2 Senior High School. Today was her 18th birthday. In order to celebrate her growing up, her classmates and friends urged her to hold a birthday party. Xia Sang was a quiet person and didn't really like to hold events like this. She had originally planned to buy a cake for everyone to share. That was how she had celebrated her birthdays in the past. But since everyone said so, she couldn't refuse. She had attended a friend's birthday party in the past. Even if her best friend didn't mind, others would inevitably gossip. Turning over and getting out of bed, Xia Sang looked at the poster on the bedside wall as usual. In the poster, Lu Chen was smiling at Xia Sang, making her mood instantly become as bright and beautiful as the sunshine outside. Xia Sang was a hardcore fan of Lu Chen. She had fallen in love with Lu Chen when she was in junior high. She had bought Lu Chen's albums, loved Lu Chen's folk songs, and watched all of Lu Chen's films. She was also the main member of Lu Chen's fan club in Hai Jin and was very active in Hai Jin's fan club. Xia Sang's appearance and figure were very ordinary. At best, she could only be described as youthful and pretty. But she could play the guitar and sing. In the past few years, she had sung all of Lu Chen's folk songs and made them into videos and uploaded them to the fan club and forum. They were very popular. Because of this, she made a name for herself in the fan club and was liked by many like-minded fans. This was what this 18-year-old girl was most proud of. Staring at the poster, Xia Sang said in her heart, "Brother Lu Chen, do you know that I'm 18 years old today?" In the poster, Lu Chen was still smiling. "Don't be love-struck." Lin Fang laughed and waved her hand in front of her, saying, "Even if you watch it for the rest of your life, Lu Chen won't jump out of it. Let's go to his concert next year." Lin Fang was also a fan of Lu Chen, but not as much as Xia Sang. However, the two of them had agreed to go to Lu Chen's concert next year. Xia Sang put her palms together and said, "My birthday wish is to get tickets to the concert." The news that Lu Chen would hold a national concert tour at the beginning of next year had already been announced. The first stop had been booked at the Beijing Olympic Stadium, but the tickets had not yet been pre-sold, and the price had not been announced. However, Xia Sang had thought about it. In any case, before the college entrance examination, she would go to see Lu Chen's concert. The only problem was the tickets. With Lu Chen's popularity in China, the tickets for his first solo concert would definitely be crazily snatched. With so many fans all over the country, Xia Sang really didn't have much confidence in getting tickets. Therefore, her birthday wish was absolutely sincere. "Oh, why did you say that now? You can only make a wish when the candles are lit, otherwise it won't come true." "I'm not superstitious." "Why would you make a wish if you're not superstitious?" Hee. Chatting and laughing, Xia Sang and her roommates washed up and dressed up together, and then went shopping. In the afternoon, they studied by themselves in the dormitory. Next year was the college entrance examination. As high school students, Xia Sang and the others usually had a lot of homework. Although today was Saturday, they couldn't spend all their time on things other than studying. Xia Sang's goal was Jianghai University, which was Lu Chen's alma mater. However, the score of Jianghai University was not low. With her current grades, she still needed to redouble her efforts to be able to achieve her wish. Duh. While she was reciting the textbook, someone knocked on the door of the dormitory. Xia Sang looked up from the book and said, "Please come in." The unlocked door was immediately pushed open and several girls came in. The leading girl was very beautiful and dressed very fashionably. There was a hint of arrogance in her eyes. "Ah," Xia Sang whispered and asked a little nervously, "Zhao Qianqian, what's the matter?" The other party was also her classmate and the prettiest girl in the class. Not only was she beautiful, but her family conditions were also very good. She crushed Xia Sang in all aspects. Xia Sang had known Zhao Qianqian for more than 10 years. They used to be neighbors, but after the Zhao family became rich, they moved away. The other two were also junior high school classmates. Zhao Qianqian said, "I came to tell you that I won't be attending your birthday party tonight." "Ah." Xia Sang was surprised. "You don't have time?" Last time, Zhao Qianqian had invited her on her birthday. Although Xia Sang didn't go because she had something to do, she also invited her to her birthday party out of courtesy. At that time, Zhao Qianqian had agreed. In the end, she came over and said that she wouldn't go. Zhao Qianqian smiled and said, "I still have a party to attend. It's at Makaya Bar. I wish you a happy birthday first. The others won't be going either. The private room at Lodi isn't big and I'm afraid it won't be able to fit. You guys have fun." After saying that, she didn't wait for Xia Sang to answer and left with a few girls. Xia Sang was stunned. Lin Fang, who was sitting next to her, was so angry that her face turned red. Damn, that's too much. Makaya Bar was one of the best bars in Haijin. It was naturally of a very high grade. It was difficult for ordinary people to afford it, let alone hold a party. The Lodi KTV that Xia Sang had booked for her birthday party was of a very ordinary grade. It was suitable for students like them, but the level of consumption was obviously incomparable to Makaya Bar. It was normal for Zhao Qianqian not to attend Xia Sang's birthday party, but she first agreed and then brought people to the dormitory to refuse. Her words were full of ridicule, which was undoubtedly embarrassing Xia Sang in front of her. Xia Sang's eyes were red. She really didn't expect Zhao Qianqian to treat her like this. Speaking of which, the two of them used to have a good relationship. Another girl in the dormitory said indignantly, "It must be during the National Day party. Your program got more votes than hers, so she came to find trouble with you. So what if you're rich?" Lin Fang hugged Xia Sang's shoulder and comforted her. "It's good that such a person doesn't come. It doesn't matter if others don't come. We'll all accompany you and celebrate your birthday happily." Xia Sang nodded, a smile reappearing on his face. Chapter 869. Although something unpleasant happened, Xia Sang's 18th birthday party was still held on time in the private room booked by Lodi KTV. However, only half of the students she invited were present. The others who originally promised to attend were dragged to Makaya Bar by Zhao Qianqian. Zhao Qianqian was beautiful and had a good family background. She had a strong and proud personality. At the school's National Day Gala, her piano solo program lost to Xia Sang's guitar singing in the audience. This time, she deliberately caused trouble on Xia Sang's birthday. It was obvious that she was retaliating. Several of Xia Sang's friends were of course indignant about this, but today was very important to Xia Sang, so everyone tacitly did not mention this matter again and focused on celebrating Xia Sang's birthday. Fortunately, Xia Sang also invited a few friends she met online. They all came and brought gifts for Xia Sang. Everyone was chatting and laughing, and the atmosphere in the private room was good. These netizens were members of Haijin Lu Chen's fan club. They got along well with Xia Sang in the QQ group, and they were all locals of Haijin. Everyone was about the same age, so naturally, they had a lot of common topics. Originally, Xia Sang did not intend to invite these online friends, but because the information she filled in her QQ number was real, all of her friends received a system prompt when it was close to her birthday. Everyone sent birthday wishes to Xia Sang, and several of her friends from Haijin even said that they would personally send her birthday gifts. As the saying goes, it is difficult to refuse such hospitality, so Xia Sang also invited them to her birthday party. Although it was called a birthday party, it was actually a karaoke party. Of course, the person everyone talked about the most was their common idol, Lu Chen. "Sang Sang, I have good news for you." A woman in a white dress said to Xia Sang with a smile, "Don't be too excited." Xia Sang asked curiously, "What good news?" Big-eyed girl in her 20s was the leader of Haijin Lu Chen's fan club, Yang Herong. Her real identity was a white-collar worker in a new media company, and she was also a hardcore fan of Lu Chen. Yang Herong appreciates Xia Sang very much. In the exclusive forum of the fan group, she often uses her moderator privilege to post Xia Sang's cover video to the top and forward it in major QQ groups. Hearing Xia Sang's question, Yang Herong revealed a mysterious expression, "Take a guess?" Xia Sang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Then how can I guess?" Yang Herong laughed and said, if you can't guess it, then I won't tell you first. I'll give you a surprise later. The suspense was so great that it caused everyone to hiss. Yang Hairong smiled but said nothing. As the leader of Lu Chen's fan club, Yang Hairong had direct contact with the Publicity and Public Relations Department of Chunfei Media. Usually, the fan club could get support from the latter for any activities. Today was Xia Sang's 18th birthday. When Yang Hairong first learned about it 2 days ago, she applied for a birthday gift from Chunfei Media. In the entertainment industry, Lu Chen's attention to his fans was well known. An application like this would basically be approved 100% of the time. In particular, Chunfei Media not only agreed to Yang Hairong's application, but also said that they would personally send someone to deliver Xia Sang's birthday gift to her today. This was the surprise Yang Hairong prepared for Xia Sang. Xia Sang couldn't help but roll her eyes. This sister often teased her in the group, and she was used to it. Yang Hairong reached out and pinched her cheek, smiled and said, "Don't worry, let's say hello to everyone first." She opened the laptop she brought, connected the data cable to the phone mounted on the selfie stand, and then opened the live broadcast function of the QQ group to broadcast Xia Sang's party live. Sang, happy birthday. Wow, I saw the leader. So many beautiful women, I want to participate too. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Hurry up and light the candles. In an instant, a large number of bullet screens appeared in the live broadcast window. Those online group members rushed to send birthday wishes to Xia Sang, as well as virtual gifts. Seeing so many warm blessings, Xia Sang felt that her heart was about to fly. She blushed and waved to the camera, "Thank you everyone." Although there weren't many people attending the birthday party tonight, with the support and blessings of so many netizens, the haze in Xia Sang's heart disappeared, and it was filled with sunshine and joy. Taking advantage of the good atmosphere, Lin Feng took the birthday cake and placed it on the coffee table, opened the packaging, and inserted the candles. There were 18 colorful candles in the room, and they were lit up one by one. Someone went to turn off the lights in the private room, and the candlelight shone on Xia Sang's blushing face, adding a bit of youthful charm to this high school girl. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. Under Yang Hairong's lead, everyone sang the happy birthday song together. In addition to the people in the private room, there were also many members of the fan group who watched the live broadcast. On the computer screen, the "A Happy Birthday" bullet screen filled the sky, and the atmosphere reached its peak. Xia Sang held her chin with her hands and looked at the birthday cake in front of her with sparkling eyes. She felt that she had never had such a happy time in her life. Joy, excitement, and a little bit of tears. Accompanied by the chorus, she closed her eyes and made a wish in her heart for her 18th birthday. Then, she opened her eyes again, blew out all the candles in one breath, and won a round of applause. The lights in the private room were turned on again. A classmate smiled and handed a plastic knife to Xia Sang. "Birthday girl, cut the cake." The live broadcast was full of "I want to eat cake" comments. Tap tap. Just as Xia Sang took the knife and was about to cut the birthday cake, someone knocked on the door of the private room. Everyone, including Xia Sang, couldn't help but turn to look. Yang Hairong's eyes suddenly lit up. Her intuition told her that it wasn't the KTV waiter who knocked on the door, but the biggest surprise for Xia Sang tonight. She stood up without hesitation and rushed to the door at lightning speed. She pulled the door open in one swift motion. "May I ask if Sang is celebrating her birthday here?" Looking at the smiling man standing in front of the door, Yang Hairong couldn't believe her eyes. She never dreamed that this surprise gift would be so special, so incredible. At this moment, the private room was dead silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. Chapter 870. Is Sang celebrating her birthday here? The man who appeared at the door of the private room was in his 20s. He was tall and handsome, and there was a faint smile on his face. He gave off a warm and sunny feeling, making people feel good about him. Yang Hairong, Xia Sang, and the other people in the room were all very familiar with this face. Lu Chen. Tonight, Xia Sang's 18th birthday party was mainly attended by her classmates, friends, and netizens. Needless to say, the members of Lu Chen's fan club were all hardcore fans of Lu Chen. Xia Sang's friends and classmates were also Lu Chen's fans. Although they didn't know each other before, they had a lot of common topics to talk about. However, no one had expected that Lu Chen would show up here. It was an incredible miracle. Yang Herong was the one who knew the inside story. She was the one who contacted Chen Fei Media to give Xia Sang a surprise, but she didn't expect the surprise to be so huge. For a moment, time in the private room seemed to freeze. Only the screen of the laptop on the coffee table was still filled with comments in the live broadcast room. Huh? Is it stuck? Why is there no sound? What happened? Why does Sang Sang look like she saw a ghost? I'm curious too. Why isn't she cutting the cake? Hey, 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 the next moment, there was a sudden scream. Xia Sang dropped the knife and jumped up from the sofa. She rushed to Lu Chen, who was standing at the door. Then she hugged Lu Chen. If this is a dream, then let me have a good one. Lu Chen was startled. He smiled and patted the girl on the shoulder. Tonight, he had come to Hygiene to give a birthday present to a fan. His company had arranged for him to do so. He had always valued the management and care of his fans, so he did not reject it. Although the smiling, the proud wanderer was still in the middle of filming, it was not a problem to take a day or two off. He had returned to the capital from Dengfeng last night, attended an important business event in the morning, and then came to Hygiene from the capital in the afternoon. Lu Chen knew that she was a hardcore fan of Sang Sang, and had even seen her cover a few of his folk songs. Xia Sang buried her head in Lu Chen's arms and murmured, "I'm not dreaming, am I?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "I'm not dreaming. Are you Sang Sang?" At this moment, Xia Sang finally came to her senses. She blushed and let go of Lu Chen, nodding her head vigorously. Lu Chen handed the letter to Xia Sang. "Happy birthday." Xia Sang took the flowers in a daze. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Aren't you going to invite me in?" "Ah." Xia Sang seemed to wake up from a dream. She said helplessly, "Please come in, please come in." Lu Chen smiled and turned to look at Yang Herong, who was still in a state of shock. He said, "You must be Yang Herong, the leader of the Hygiene fan club. I've seen you before." Lu Chen had seen many leaders of fan clubs from all over the world at the last fan meet and greet, so he had an impression of them. Yang Herong blushed with excitement. "Hello, brother Lu Chen. I didn't expect you to come." Lu Chen walked into the private room and looked at the uncut cake on the coffee table. He smiled and said, "Looks like I'm not too late. I'm just in time to get the cake." The girls in the private room finally came back to their senses. Some of them were very excited. Some of them raised their phones to take pictures, while others took things out of their bags to ask for autographs. It was undoubtedly a lifetime memory for them to be so close to a real superstar. At Xia Sang's invitation, Lu Chen sat down on the sofa and faced the selfie camera. The Hygiene fan club's live broadcast room exploded. This was a public live broadcast room of the 7 main groups. Since Yang Herong was the host of the live broadcast, and the star of the live broadcast was Sang Sang, who was quite famous among the fan club, there were more than 3,000 to 4,000 fans celebrating Xia Sang's birthday online. These passionate fans also received a great surprise. "Holy sh*T, is this for real? No way, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Why do I see Lu Chen here? Lu Chen is attending Sang Sang's birthday party. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Holy sh*T, can someone tell me which KTV Sang Sang is at tonight? I'll take a taxi there right now." Oh my god, Lu Chen was familiar with live webcasting. Seeing this, he waved at the mobile phone camera. "Hello, everyone. Wow." The live broadcast room went crazy. "It's really me, Chen. I'm not dreaming." Sang Sang is so happy. I'm celebrating my birthday too. It's tomorrow. I feel like I've hit the jackpot. Sang Sang, sing a song with Lu Chen. It must be very good. Sing, sing. While the private room and the live broadcast room were in an uproar, another party was going on in Maikaya Bar more than 10 kilometers away. Zhao Qianqian sat on the leather sofa, holding a cocktail in her hand. She looked at the crowded dance floor in front of her with a smile. The colorful lights shone on her face, giving her a devilish beauty. On both sides of her, more than a dozen people of her age were chatting and drinking. The girl sitting next to Zhao Qianqian chuckled. Qianqian, what do you think Xia Sang is like now? I saw her almost crying in the afternoon. Zhao Qianqian's smile widened. She waved her hand and pretended not to care. Don't worry about her. Let's enjoy ourselves. As long as everyone is happy. What she hated the most was others stealing her limelight. Who let Xia Sang touch her bad luck? Ah. No way. At this moment, several girls who were playing with their mobile phones suddenly screamed as if they had seen a ghost. Zhao Qianqian frowned and asked, "What's wrong?" The girls looked at each other. One of them hesitated and said, "Take a look at the grade group." Zhao Qianqian suddenly had a very bad feeling. She picked up her mobile phone and opened QQ and clicked into the grade group. Other students, out of curiosity, also used their mobile phones to log into the grade group. Then everyone was dumbfounded. In the grade group, someone was crazily sending photos and short videos. The protagonists of these photos and videos were Lu Chen and Xia Sang from grade 12, 4, class. Tonight, Lu Chen actually appeared at Xia Sang's birthday party. The two sat together intimately and cut the cake together. Seeing these photos, Zhao Qianqian felt as if she had been slapped in the face a few times. It was a burning pain. Chapter 871. For the 18-year-old Xia Sang, tonight's birthday party was undoubtedly a dream. She met her favorite and idol, Lu Chen, received a gift from Lu Chen himself, cut the birthday cake with Lu Chen, and sang a song with Lu Chen in front of thousands of netizens. There were originally 3,000 or 4,000 people watching the birthday party in the QQ group of Hygiene Lu Chen's fan club. When everyone found out that Lu Chen was there in person, the news quickly spread to all the fan groups, and a large number of fans swarmed to the party. As the heroine of tonight, Xia Sang not only received countless blessings, but also countless envy and jealousy. Not only that, she also appeared on the entertainment section of major media with Lu Chen the next day, and was called the luckiest and happiest fan. Xia Sang didn't think that such a title was the slightest exaggeration. After fulfilling the dream of a die-hard fan and leaving an interesting story, Lu Chen returned to Dengfeng to continue the filming of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. Time flowed like water, and in the blink of an eye, it was the end of December. The filming of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer had been going on for more than a month. In this more than a month, because of the existence of the crew, it had a great impact on the local area of Dengfeng. First was the Shaolin Temple. After the official establishment of Shaolin Temple Industrial Development Company, Limited, the first batch of 100 million funds of Qinfei Media was immediately put in place, and the renovation and expansion of the Shaolin Temple was quickly put on the agenda. The Shaolin Temple was a provincial-level cultural relic protection unit, and the renovation and expansion of a cultural protection unit was not so easy. Funds alone were not enough, and it must be approved by the higher authorities. Fortunately, the support from the government of Dengfeng was great, and there was no need for state investment, and the Shaolin Temple really did need to be repaired and maintained, so the relevant approval documents were quickly implemented. After getting the approval documents, Shaolin Industrial Company immediately carried out the project bidding, and invited qualified domestic ancient construction companies to come to bid, and then the project began vigorously. The Shaolin Temple was closed for 3 months. On the one hand, it was for the renovation and expansion. On the other hand, it was to cooperate with the filming of The Smiling, Proud Martial World. Otherwise, there would be a lot of troubles in the management due to the disturbance of tourists. Today's Shaolin Temple was very different. The area of the temple had expanded by 2/3, and a new site had been opened up for the construction of the Shaolin Temple Martial Arts Research Center and Shaolin Dojo. According to the plan, the renovation and expansion project will last for 2 years, but the first phase of the project will be completed before the Spring Festival next year. During the Spring Festival, the temple will officially open to guests, so that the people of the country can see the glory of the Shaolin Temple. The current Shaolin Temple was different from the past. Its popularity was at least 10 times higher than before. The number of fans of the Shaolin Temple's official V on Waves had exceeded the 1 million mark. The crew of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer would release stills from time to time, including many scenes of the Shaolin Temple and Lu Chen in the Shaolin Temple. In addition, Lu Chen also revealed on his blog that after the filming of the Smiling, Proud Martial World trilogy, he was very likely to make a special movie for the Shaolin Temple. It was about the story of the Sui and Tang dynasties' 13 monks saving the Tang Emperor. It was through all kinds of publicity that the 1,000-year-old temple glowed with unprecedented vitality. Then, in the near future, it would become a shining symbol in Lu Chen's wuxia IP plan. And in this process, Lu Chen experienced the most important transformation in his life with the new Shaolin Temple. That was the evolution from an actor to a director. The entertainment industry was a big place. There were naturally different levels of people in the world, and directors, especially movie directors, were definitely standing at the top. When Lu Chen was still a singer and filmed his first music video, he had the idea of becoming a director in his heart. This idea became stronger when he was filming TV series such as Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance. By the time he made his first movie, A Chinese Ghost Story, he was already learning and preparing. To become a real director, a movie director, was not an easy task. A qualified movie director must first have professional knowledge, know how to grasp the entire artistic style of the movie, and have the skills to achieve the desired artistic effect of the movie. The director controlled the details and development process of the movie according to the movie script. He also had to guide the actor's performance, including setting the shooting positions and movements for the actors and helping them cultivate the actor's mood for the performance. In addition, the movie director had to organize and choose the film's shooting site, and manage technical aspects such as camera placement, lighting, set layout, soundtrack content, timing, and so on. In the entertainment industry, many celebrities had experience as directors. There were even some famous writers who had mixed into the industry to film their own works. However, most of these directors were just playing around. They did not need to master so many skills or manage so much work. They could just hand over the main work to the producers, assistant directors, and cameramen. They just needed to put on a name to raise their stature. What Lu Chen wanted to be was not this kind of nominal director. Even if the other road was very difficult, full of risks and thorns, he had no regrets. Since the beginning of Autumn in My Heart, he had been learning. He squeezed out time from his busy work to absorb knowledge, and worked hard in the direction he wanted. Lu Chen did not become a director to raise his status, but he hoped that through his own efforts, he could realize the dream that the other three had never realized in the dream world. To make a movie that truly belonged to him. Now Lu Chen was no longer satisfied with obtaining achievements and glory with the help of the memory in the dream world. He wanted to win the applause of everyone through his own efforts. Fortunately, Lu Chen had a foundation that was far beyond ordinary people. The first song of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, Sword of Mount Hua, invited the famous director Chen Guizhi. Under the careful guidance of this senior master, he accumulated his skills in directing little by little. The second song of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, Invincible East, was Lu Chen's test work after his success. From the initial jerkiness to the gradual familiarity, from uneasiness to calmness, Lu Chen's road as a director was getting smoother and smoother. But for many of Lu Chen's fans, they were not looking forward to Lu Chen's first movie, but Lu Chen's third album that would be released on January 1, 2019. The name of this album was Lu Chen. Chapter 872. December 27th, Binhai, Jingsheng District. The winter night came very early. It was already dark before 6 o'clock. The lights were on in the Lu family's dining room. Fang Yun was sitting at the table eating dinner. The dinner was very simple. A plate of stir-fried vegetables, a plate of steamed small yellow croaker, and a bowl of seaweed soup were all. Fang Yun looked lonely under the light. Of her 3 children, Lu Shi was far away in Beijing, busy all day long. Lu Chen was filming a movie, and Lu Shui was studying at Jianghai University, so she couldn't accompany her. In fact, both Lu Shi and Lu Chen were very happy that Fang Yun could move to Beijing, because both of their careers were in Beijing, and in the foreseeable future, they would also live in Beijing. But Fang Yun didn't want to leave Binhai, because she had long been used to everything in Binhai, her work in Binhai, her relatives, her colleagues, and her friends, so sometimes she was lonely and missed her children. Fang Yun didn't feel regretful, and she wouldn't call Lu Chen and Lu Shi, because she knew that both of them were very busy. Some people advised her to find another partner, and even introduced her. They were all very good partners, but Fang Yun didn't think about it at all. What she hoped most now was that Lu Shi and Lu Chen could get married and have children as soon as possible, so that she could retire and take care of the next generation of the Lu family. Unfortunately, it seemed that this wish couldn't be realized in a short time. Thinking of this, Fang Yun couldn't help but sigh. Ding dong, at this time, the doorbell rang. Who was it? Fang Yun put down the bowl and chopsticks and went to open the door, thinking that it should be someone from the property management who was looking for her. Since Lu Chen became famous, the family moved back to Jingsheng district, and more people came to visit. There are relatives and friends, colleagues and leaders, media reporters, and some people who have nothing to do with each other. For a while, Fang Yun was quite upset. Later, after filtering visitors through the property security personnel, it finally calmed down. When the door opened, the person standing at the door was not the property management staff, but Lu Chen, who was carrying a suitcase, carrying a backpack, and wearing sunglasses. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Mom, I'm back." After that, he gave Fang Yun a big hug. Fang Yun was stunned for a moment before she came to her senses. She clenched her fist and hit him on the shoulder a few times. "You child, why didn't you tell me you were coming back?" Lu Chen let go of his hand and said with a smile, "This is a surprise for you." As he spoke, he walked into the living room, put his suitcase aside, took off his backpack, and threw it on the sofa. At the same time, Lu Chen himself was also thrown on the sofa. Looking at Lu Chen's paralyzed, lazy appearance on the sofa, Fang Yun was angry and funny at the same time. She said angrily, "It's shocking enough, but I don't know why I'm happy. Where's Fei, Compared with her own son, she preferred her future daughter-in-law." Lu Chen buried his head in the soft cushion and said, "I came back alone." She went back to the capital. This time, Lu Chen returned to Zhejiang province mainly for 2 things. The first thing was to participate in the centennial celebration of Binhai Middle School. Lu Chen was an alumnus of Binhai Middle School. He spent a good time in this national key middle school, and now he was also a golden signboard of Binhai Middle School. This school centennial celebration, the school invited him to participate through various channels, including a call from his former class teacher. It was difficult to refuse the kindness of his teacher, so Lu Chen was bound to come back to participate in the school anniversary. The second thing was the New Year's concert of Zhejiang Satellite TV station. The trend of local satellite TV stations holding New Year's concert was brought by Shonan TV. On the evening of December 31st every year, they invited all kinds of stars to sing on the big stage. They could make a lot of money by selling tickets, not to mention the advertising fees of the live broadcast. Under the leadership of Shonan TV, all the powerful satellite TV stations followed suit. Last year, a total of 5 satellite TV stations held New Year's concert, resulting in a situation where there were not enough big singers. This year, there were as many as 7. It was almost to the point of breaking heads and bleeding. At that time, the remote control in the hands of the audience all over the country would be hot. It would be too late to change the channel. As the most popular star in the circle, Lu Chen received invitations from Beijing Television, Shonan TV, Zhejiang Satellite TV and Shanghai Satellite TV at the beginning of the year, hoping that he could participate in the New Year's concert of several satellite TV stations. As for the conditions, it was up to Lu Chen to set them. However, Lu Chen didn't have the ability to split himself, so he could only choose one. Among them, the fiercest competition for him was Beijing Television and Zhejiang Satellite TV. The advantages of these two satellite TV stations were also the greatest. Anyway, after a battle, Lu Chen agreed to the invitation of Zhejiang Satellite TV, and as a condition, Chen Fei stayed in Beijing to support Beijing Television, which could be regarded as taking care of both sides. It was just that in this way, the two of them couldn't spend the New Year's Eve 2019 together, and the sacrifice was quite big. But for Lu Chen, the most important thing was to go home and have a look. Over the past year, Lu Chen rarely went home, and after Lu Shui went to college, Fang Yun was the only one left in his hometown in Binhai. Sometimes when he thought about it, he felt guilty. So taking advantage of this opportunity, Lu Chen deliberately went home a few days earlier, just to stay at home with his mother. Fang Yun closed the door and asked in surprise, "You came back alone? Didn't you bring an assistant or something?" Lu Chen replied vaguely, "No, I asked them to wait for me in Hangzhou. I will go to Hangzhou on the 31st and accompany you at home these days." Fang Yun complained, "What do I have to accompany? You are so busy with work, spend more time with Fei." Although that was what she said, she was still very happy in her heart. She sat on the sofa and chattered. She even forgot to eat. After a few minutes, Fang Yun remembered, "Oh, you haven't had dinner yet, have you? I'll go cook a few more dishes." At this moment, Fang Yun found that Lu Chen was lying on the sofa and had fallen asleep. He had driven all the way from Mount Dengfeng. Although he had taken the highway, he had driven for thousands of kilometers by himself. When he got home, he was already very tired. Like a tired bird returning to its warm nest, Lu Chen, who was home, completely relaxed. When he fell on the sofa, he felt sleepy. Listening to his mother's nagging, he only felt happy in his heart, and then the sleepiness hit him silently, and he couldn't stop it. Looking at Lu Chen, who was sleeping like a child, Fang Yun's eyes were full of love and love. She took off Lu Chen's shoes and quietly found a blanket to cover him, so that he could sleep more comfortably and warmly. No matter where he was, this would always be Lu Chen's home. Chapter 873. As soon as Lu Chen woke up, he smelled the aroma of food. He turned over and sat up on the sofa. He rubbed his sleepy eyes and saw that his mother had just brought a dish out of the kitchen. It was steaming hot and smoking. Lu Chen asked in surprise, "Mom, what time is it now?" He slept soundly. He felt that he had slept for a long time, but the light in the living room was on. It was still night. "You're awake," Fang Yun said with a smile. "I ran to the supermarket to buy some food. I thought that you might not have eaten dinner. When you wake up, you must be very hungry. It's just the right time to wake up." Lu Chen took out his mobile phone and looked at it. It was already more than 10 o'clock in the evening. He had slept for 3 hours. He couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. "I'll take a shower first." He quickly ran into the bathroom to take a shower. When he came out after taking a shower, the dishes and chopsticks on the table were neatly arranged. The dishes in front of him had also been reheated. Lu Chen didn't hesitate. He picked up the bowl and chopsticks and ate quickly. It was still a familiar taste. Although it couldn't be said that the dishes cooked by his mother were the most delicious in the world, this kind of taste that belonged to home could never be eaten outside. For this late dinner, Lu Chen ate 3 bowls of rice and basically wiped out several dishes. "Don't eat too much," Fang Yun looked distressed and asked, "Is the food in the crew very bad?" Looking at Lu Chen's appearance, it seemed that he hadn't eaten for 3 days and 3 nights. His mother naturally cared about him. Lu Chen burped, touched his bulging belly, and said, "It's not that. It's mainly because the dishes you cook are delicious." "That sounds even better than a song," Fang Yun smiled and said, "You only know how to make me happy. By the way, the school anniversary is on the 29th, right? In order to ensure that Lu Chen could attend the 100th anniversary of Binhai Middle School, the principal had put in a lot of effort. Not only had he asked Lu Chen's former class teacher to call him, but he had also invited Fang Yun. Fang Yun and Principal Ouyang of Binhai Middle School knew each other, so she couldn't forget their relationship. Lu Chen nodded and said, "I'll attend the school anniversary on the 29th. I'll go to Hangzhou on the 30th, Mom, ask for a leave tomorrow. I'll accompany you to the mall to buy some clothes." Clothes? Fang Yun was stunned. "I have a lot of clothes. You don't have to buy them. If you want to buy them, I'll go with you." Lu Chen said helplessly, "Just let your son be filial, or else my sister will say something." Although they used to be a rich family, since the Lu family declined, in order to pay off the huge debts owed by the family, Fang Yun was very frugal. She wore a few clothes all year round. Now, of course, she was not short of money, but Fang Yun's thrifty habit still remained. She always bought cheap clothes. Although Lu Chen and Lu Shi had told her several times, she never changed. Moreover, she resolutely refused to let the two children buy her famous brands, saying that they should save money and spend more on their careers. In fact, whether it was Lu Chen or Lu Shi, they were not short of money. So when he went home this time, Lu Chen decided to buy some new clothes for his mother, at least enough to fill a wardrobe. Fang Yun rolled her eyes at him. "Are you afraid that your mother will lose face?" Lu Chen smiled bitterly. "No," Fang Yun drove him away. Go, 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 go. Go upstairs and rest. I'll clean up here. We'll talk about tomorrow's things tomorrow." Lu Chen smiled and went upstairs to rest. The next day, Fang Yun did not ask for leave because there was still a lot of work to be done. According to her, there was no need to drag the work that could be done today to tomorrow and cause trouble for others. However, she got up early and went to the market to buy a bunch of fresh ingredients. At noon, she specially came back to cook for Lu Chen. Originally, she planned to have dinner at home, but under Lu Chen's insistence, they went to Binhai Onehouse City for dinner and shopping. Onehouse City just entered Binhai last year. It was currently the largest and highest-grade comprehensive shopping mall in Binhai, with a large number of international brands gathered in the mall. Onehouse City was the most important brand of the Onehouse Group, and Onehouse Pictures, which was a direct competitor of Chen Fei Media, was a subsidiary of the Onehouse Group. Of course, Lu Chen bringing his mother to Onehouse City was definitely not seen as an act of supporting the enemy. Onehouse City was located on the east side of the most prosperous People's Square in Binhai City. It used to be a state-owned factory in Binhai City. After the land was demolished, it set a new record for commercial land in Binhai City. It also forcibly pulled up the surrounding housing prices. Speaking of which, ever since Lu Chen was admitted to university, he spent less and less time in Binhai City. He could come back during the winter and summer vacations when he was in university. After he went to Beijing to work and entered the entertainment industry, the number of times he returned to Binhai City in a year could be counted on one hand. In the past few years, the appearance of Binhai City had changed a lot. For example, many buildings around People's Square had been demolished and rebuilt. Rows of modern skyscrapers were built. The night lights of the buildings and the large billboards reflected each other, making Lu Chen feel a little unfamiliar with the city that raised him. After eating dinner at a restaurant in Onehouse City, Lu Chen brought his mother to the mall inside. He wore a set of casual clothes today. In order to avoid trouble, he also wore a pair of large sunglasses. However, his tall and straight figure and the sharp outline of his face couldn't be covered. He still looked very handsome. Noticing the strange gazes that people frequently cast at them, Fang Yun held Lu Chen's arm even tighter. Although she knew that some people must have misunderstood, she didn't care. Instead, her heart was full of pride. My son is handsome. Even if he covers his face with sunglasses, he's still handsome. Go ahead and be jealous. Fang Yun. At this time, a surprised voice suddenly came from the side. You're also shopping at the mall? Lu Chen and Fang Yun turned their heads and saw that a few steps away, a very rich middle-aged woman was looking at them with her eyes wide open. She was followed by a man in his 50s and a young woman in her 20s. It was obviously a family of 3. Fang Yun smiled and said, "Sister Zhang, what a coincidence. Your family is also shopping at the mall." The middle-aged woman nodded and looked straight at Lu Chen. "It is a coincidence. This is?" Her eyes were a little strange. Fang Yun was a real beauty when she was young. Although she was almost 50 years old now, her charm and temperament were still very outstanding. After her husband passed away, someone in the unit tried to matchmake for her. Sister Zhang was one of them, but no matter who was the matchmaker, Fang Yun firmly refused. Now seeing Fang Yun holding a handsome man's arm and shopping at the mall, Sister Zhang suddenly felt like she had caught an adulterer in bed and discovered a new continent. The current Fang Yun was not as down and out as a few years ago. Everyone knew that she was very rich. Chapter 874. Sister Zhang, plus her husband and daughter, the eyes of the 3 people were all focused on Lu Chen. There was disdain in their eyes, and curiosity. Fang Yun smiled faintly and said proudly, "This is my son, Lu Chen. Lu Chen, this is your Aunt Zhang." Lu Chen took off his sunglasses and said to Sister Zhang with a smile, "Hello, Aunt Zhang." As he said that, he nodded to Sister Zhang's husband and daughter. Sister Zhang's daughter was suddenly dumbfounded. Her eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and she was directly petrified. "Hello, hello," Sister Zhang was completely dumbfounded. She didn't expect that this tall and handsome man was actually Fang Yun's son, instead of what she was imagining. She couldn't help but feel a burning pain on her face. Sister Zhang and Fang Yun's relationship in the unit was ordinary, and they didn't have much contact before. This was the first time she saw Lu Chen. Under the shame, she forgot what others had told her about what kind of person Fang Yun's son was. Lu Chen put on his sunglasses again. There were people coming and going in the shopping mall. If he was recognized by passers-by, then the plan to accompany his mother to buy clothes in the evening would be ruined. Fang Yun also didn't want to be disturbed by others to spend time with Lu Chen. She said to Sister Zhang, who was in a daze, "Sister Zhang, I have something to do with little Chen. Let's talk when we have time." Sister Zhang replied subconsciously, "Okay, okay." Fang Yun smiled sweetly and left with Lu Chen. Sister Zhang was stunned for a moment until her daughter tightly grabbed her arm, and very hard. Under the pain, she woke up and turned to look at her daughter angrily. "What are you doing?" Sister Zhang's daughter looked at the direction in which Fang Yun and Lu Chen left. Like a cat that wanted to eat dried fish but couldn't eat it, she called out in a hoarse voice, "Lu Chen, he is Lu Chen." Sister Zhang stared at her daughter. What's wrong with Lu Chen? She still couldn't remember. She just felt embarrassed just now. Sister Zhang's daughter was in despair. "Oh my God, why didn't you tell me? It's Lu Chen." His words were incoherent. This small interlude did not affect Lu Chen's interest in shopping with his mother. After walking around for a while, the 2 of them stepped into the Dior store. Dior was one of the most famous fashion brands in France. It was also the world's largest high-end fashion brand holding company. It mainly dealt in women's clothing, men's clothing, jewelry, perfume, cosmetics, children's clothing, and other high-end consumer goods. It also enjoyed a high reputation in China. This Dior shop was very large, and the decoration style was not ordinary. The main color of black and white was Dior's style. Due to its high-end positioning, there were not many customers in the shop. Seeing Lu Chen and Fang Yun come in, a shop assistant immediately greeted them with a smile. "Welcome to Dior's Binhai flagship store. How can I help you?" The shop assistants who worked in such a big brand store usually had rich sales experience and had been specially trained. Their eyes were very sharp, and they could basically tell that those customers were just watching the fun. Those were real customers. Although their service attitude was impeccable for different customers, and they would never look down on others, the enthusiasm in their eyes was undoubtedly more sincere for the latter. In the eyes of the shop assistant, although Fang Yun's clothes were relatively ordinary, her temperament was not comparable to ordinary people. Needless to say, Lu Chen was wearing an Armani casual suit, low-key and introverted. He was a person of taste and money. Although Fang Yun had been very thrifty in the past few years, and many habits had not been changed until now, the Lu family was also considered to be a rich family in the past. Stepping into a brand store would definitely not make her nervous. Fang Yun smiled slightly reservedly and said, "Let's take a look first." The smile on the shop assistant's face became more and more warm. "Please feel free. The winter clothes in our store are all the latest in Paris. There will be spring clothes on sale next month." She followed Fang Yun step by step, but kept a polite distance. Fang Yun let go of Lu Chen's arm and said to him, "I'll choose myself. You take a rest." Of course, Lu Chen had no objection and sat down on the sofa in the store. Not long after he sat down, another shop assistant brought a cup of hot tea. "Please have some tea." "Thank you." Lu Chen took the disposable teacup, and suddenly his eyes narrowed. Xiao Lirong. The shop assistant was in her 20s, about 1.7 meters tall, with an oval face and willow eyebrows. When she smiled, there was a shallow dimple on her left cheek. She was a sweet and beautiful girl. "Ah." The shop assistant was stunned. "You are?" In her memory, there was no such tall and handsome man wearing sunglasses. Lu Chen stood up, took off his sunglasses and said with a smile, "Old classmate, have you forgotten me?" Xiao Lirong was stunned. "You are Lu Chen?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "That's me. What a coincidence today. How have you been recently?" Xiao Lirong was his high school classmate. The two of them sat in front and behind each other. Their relationship was not bad. Of course, there was no melodramatic love story. At that time, Lu Chen already had a girlfriend. Since Lu Chen was admitted to Jianghai University, the two of them had broken off contact. They hadn't seen each other for 7 or 8 years. They didn't expect to meet each other in the Dior store today. When Lu Chen saw Xiao Lirong, it was the joy of seeing an old classmate that he hadn't seen for many years. And when Xiao Lirong recognized Lu Chen, it was more like winning a 5 million prize. The current Lu Chen was the pride of Binhai Middle School. In her class group, the topic that everyone talked about the most was Lu Chen. Who would have thought that Lu Chen would become a real big star? Although Lu Chen's QQ number was also in this class group, it had never been online. Many students contacted him, but he didn't respond. It was inferred that he had changed his number and abandoned it. She didn't expect to meet Lu Chen here. "It's really you." After being stunned for a long time, Xiao Lirong came back to her senses. She didn't know what to say. In any case, her heart was in a mess. I'm fine. When did you return to Binhai?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "I came back yesterday." "How are the other students? Do you usually contact them?" On one side, Lu Chen and Xiao Lirong were stunned. The other shop assistants were all stunned. Lu Chen, it turned out to be Lu Chen. They couldn't even believe their eyes. A real superstar had casually walked in without any bodyguards or assistants by his side, and warmly chatted with one of them about daily life. Is this real? If it weren't for the strict professional training and store rules, these shop assistants would have all gathered around to see what was going on. Nevertheless, everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Chen. So, big stars are like this, more handsome than on TV. Chapter 875. Lu Chen has long been accustomed to all kinds of gazes from around him. At this moment, his heart was more surprised to meet an old classmate. Although his relationship with Xiao Lirong was ordinary in high school, seeing her reminded him of the time when they were classmates. Lu Chen's peaceful and kind inquiry gradually calmed Xiao Lirong's shocked mood. She felt that the handsome man in front of her gradually overlapped with the big boy in the back seat in her memory. She swallowed her saliva and said, "Everyone is very good. We often chat in the QQ group, but many classmates have also broken off contact. I heard that they have gone abroad, and some are working in other places." As she spoke, Xiao Lirong relaxed and said half jokingly and half seriously, "But no one can compare to you, a big star. Everyone is very proud when they talk about it in the group. Sometimes I tell others that Lu Chen is my classmate, but they don't believe it." She pursed her lips and said with a smile, "Now it's good. Hurry up and take a photo with me. Next time, they will envy me to death." Lu Chen couldn't help laughing. "How is one enough? At least 2 photos. My previous QQ number is no longer used. You can add my new number so that it will be easier to contact in the future." He opened the QQ on his mobile phone and clicked on his ID QR code for Xiao Lirong to scan. This QQ ID was Lu Chen's private account. He only added a few relatives and friends in the circle. He didn't use it much, and his previous number had long been abandoned. Xiao Lirong was overjoyed and immediately added Lu Chen's new QQ number. "Ah, your number is really good." Lu Chen said with a smile, "I have a cooperation with QQ, and the other party sent me a beautiful number." Only then did Xiao Lirong remember that Lu Chen was a big star. She couldn't help but ask, "Are you coming back this time to participate in the school centennial celebration?" Lu Chen nodded, "Yes." Xiao Lirong hesitated and said, "This time, the old monitor also came back to participate in the school anniversary. She organized a class reunion tomorrow night in the group. Do you want to come?" She knew that a star like Lu Chen must be very busy, and as a guest of the centennial celebration, he may not be free tomorrow night, so she just asked in case. "Monitor is back too?" Lu Chen was surprised. "That's quite rare. Count me in, but I don't think I'll be playing for long. Just tell me the location." Old Monitor was the class monitor of his high school class. Because her surname was Ban and she was the class monitor, plus she was very popular in the class, everyone called her Old Monitor. In fact, Old Monitor was not old at all. She was a real fair, rich and beautiful lady. After graduating from high school, she went directly to England to study at a university. "That's great." Xiao Lirong beamed with joy and quickly sent the address of the gathering to Lu Chen. "I'll inform everyone." "No." Lu Chen stopped him and said, "Don't tell me yet. I don't know if he can come. I'll contact you when the time comes." He wasn't sure if he would be free tomorrow night, so it was better to be cautious. Otherwise, if Xiao Lirong went out and he couldn't come, it wouldn't be good. Xiao Lirong understood. "Okay." At this time, Fang Yun came out of the fitting room and saw Lu Chen talking and laughing with a shop assistant, so she walked over curiously. "Little Chen." When Lu Chen saw his mother, he introduced her. "I met an old classmate, Xiao Lirong. Do you remember her?" Xiao Lirong greeted a little shyly, "Hello, Auntie." "Hello." Fang Yun looked at her carefully and smiled. "I still remember. I've seen her a few times. Now she has grown into a beautiful girl. If you didn't say it, I really wouldn't have recognized you. Are you married?" Xiao Lirong was even more embarrassed. Lu Chen helped her out. "It just so happens that Xiao Lirong works in this store. Recommend some clothes for my mother." Xiao Lirong hurriedly took Fang Yun to see clothes. As a result, as soon as Lu Chen sat down, a shop assistant immediately came over and asked with a red face, "Teacher Lu Chen, I am your fan. Can I have an autograph?" Lu Chen saw the word store manager printed on her chest tag and smiled. "No problem." With the store manager taking the lead, several other shop assistants gathered around one after another. Those who wanted an autograph and those who wanted a group photo, Lu Chen satisfied their wishes one by one. In return, he asked the shop assistants to keep quiet so that his mother could shop here. Fortunately, there were no other customers in the store. Otherwise, the Dior store would be surrounded by people. The shop assistants also knew the seriousness of the matter, so no one made a loud noise. In the end, Fang Yun bought 2 sets of clothes and a bag in the store. The store manager gave her a 10% discount. After Lu Chen swiped his card and paid the bill, he said goodbye to Xiao Lirong and left. However, as soon as the two of them left, many people came to the Dior store. Because some shop assistants were so excited that they took photos with Fong Yun on their WeChat moments, the news spread like wildfire. Everyone came to see the big star. However, they were destined to be disappointed. The next morning, Lu Chen went alone to Binhai Middle School, where he studied in the past. Considering that it was inconvenient to park near the school, he did not drive his own car. Instead, he stopped a taxi at the entrance of the neighborhood. However, as soon as he arrived at the intersection of Shuefu Middle School, he found that the entire road was under traffic control. There were traffic police guarding the intersection. Only vehicles with special passes could enter and exit. Lu Chen did not care. After paying the taxi fare, he got out of the car and walked. Anyway, it was only a few hundred meters from here to the school gate. It would not take long to walk. Walking along the paved pavement, the locust trees along the road were as tall and lush as before. Lu Chen did not know how many times he had walked here in the past. He could still vaguely remember the fragrance of the locust flowers. From afar, he could hear the warm sound of ceremonial music. It was obvious that the welcoming ceremony had begun. However, Lu Chen was not in a hurry at all because there were many memories on this road. The laughter of running, the noise of playing, the heartbeat of holding hands for the first time, the young man who met his classmate. Now that the locust flowers did not bloom, the beautiful figure was gone, but the sweet, warm, and joyful memories remained in his heart. Suddenly, Lu Chen missed Chen Feier, who was far away in Beijing. He walked for a short distance of 200 to 300 meters for a full 10 minutes until he was awakened by a passing car. In front of him was Lu Chen's alma mater, Binhai Middle School. This was a national key middle school with a history of 100 years. A tall air arch stood at the entrance. Colorful banners hung from balloons fluttered in the wind. A long red carpet was laid from the entrance to the school. A large group of people gathered at the entrance. Among them, Lu Chen saw several school leaders that he knew. They were happily welcoming the guests and returning students who participated in the school anniversary. Chapter 876. A shiny black Bentley was parked steadily at the school gate. The uniformed driver opened the rear door. A middle-aged man got out of the car and stood at the beginning of the red carpet. Mr. Zhang. A school leader in charge of reception immediately greeted him and extended his hands to the man with a smile. Welcome back to your alma mater for the centennial celebration of Binhai Middle School. The middle-aged man shook hands with him and said with a smile, "It's my honor." Several reporters rushed out from the side and pressed the shutter of the two desperately. There were also cameramen shooting. Two primary school students in the uniform of Binhai affiliated primary school came over and gave flowers to the middle-aged man. Zhang Longda was a well-known alumnus of Binhai Middle School. He was a well-known entrepreneur in Binhai and had founded a company with assets of more than 1 billion. It was reasonable for him to receive such a grand reception. Accompanied by the school leader, Zhang Longda stepped on the red carpet and walked toward the signature wall. Reporters followed and took photos along the way. Then, another Mercedes-Benz stopped. This scene made Lu Chen feel like he was holding a movie or music award ceremony. It was more or less a little weird. But in the current environment, many schools often made a big deal of the celebration in order to increase their popularity and tried their best to invite famous alumni to participate. Those who could step on the red carpet were naturally the best. Lu Chen was among them. Originally, the school offered to provide a special car, but he declined. After thinking about it, Lu Chen did not join in the fun and went straight in from the side door. He had an invitation in hand, so naturally, he was unimpeded. Because he was wearing sunglasses, the staff in charge of the inspection did not recognize him. After a simple inspection, they waved their hands and let him go. The ceremony was held in the school's auditorium, but it was still early. Lu Chen was not in a hurry to get there. Instead, he walked around the campus. He had not been back for many years, but the appearance of Binhai Middle School had not changed much. The statue of the girl in the fountain was still there, the thick sycamore tree was still engraved with words, and the path to the laboratory building was still full of leaves. Today was Sunday, and there were very few students on campus. However, in the quiet corner, students could be seen studying diligently. The familiar scene reminded Lu Chen of bits and pieces of memories. Before he knew it, he had arrived at the third teaching block. He walked up the stairs and arrived at the classroom of Class 5 on the 4th floor. The classroom door was unlatched, and Lu Chen pushed it open and walked in. The classroom was quiet, and the desks were neatly arranged. There were no students around, except for a woman who was looking at the drawings on the blackboard. She was wearing a plain white dress. Her figure was slender and graceful, and her silky black hair fell over her shoulders. She turned around when she heard the door being pushed open. Lu Chen couldn't help but be stunned. Old monitor? This beautiful woman was the class monitor of Lu Chen's high school, Ban Beibei. Although they hadn't seen each other for 7 or 8 years and she had grown up and matured a lot, Lu Chen still recognized her at a glance. Ban Beibei furrowed her beautiful brows, revealing a puzzled expression. Lu Chen took off his sunglasses and said with a smile, "It's me." Lu Chen. Ban Beibei suddenly showed a surprised smile. "Why are you here?" Lu Chen walked over and said with a smile, "I calculated with my fingers and knew that you were here, so I came to find you." "Are you touched?" Ban Beibei smiled and said, "I'm really touched. You are a big star now. I often hear your name in the UK, and I know how famous you are." Lu Chen shook his head and said, "That's all empty. How are you in the UK?" It was natural to be surprised and sentimental when they reunited after a long time. The relationship between the two was very good. Ban Beibei's father and Lu Chen's father were business friends, and she had attended the funeral of Lu Chen's father. However, after graduating from high school, Ban Beibei's family emigrated to the UK, and she also went to college in the UK. Therefore, they lost contact, but the friendship between them did not fade with the passage of time. Ban Beibei studied in the UK and got a master's degree. Now she was working in a Fortune 500 company. This time, she received an invitation from the school, so she came back from the UK to attend the school anniversary. "I also want to see my old classmate. Xiao Lirong told me that she saw you last night." The two sat down to chat, and they were still sitting in the same seats, separated by an aisle. Ban Beibei's eyes were bright. "Are you coming to the class reunion tonight?" Lu Chen said, "If I have time, I will definitely come. I also want to see Fang Jian, Zhao Linqing, Li Yuan and the others." Ban Beibei teased, "I know you are a busy person now. You don't even use QQ." Lu Chen blushed with shame. "I changed my QQ number. Add me." After exchanging new QQ numbers, Ban Beibei asked intentionally or unintentionally, "Are you still in contact with Xiao Man?" Lu Chen smiled bitterly and shook his head. "I haven't been in contact for a long time," Ban Beibei said as if she was talking to herself. "She is doing well now. She opened her own company in the deep sea, and I heard that it is doing well." Lu Chen listened silently, but his thoughts flew back to his youth many years ago. Gu Xiaoman was Ban Beibei's deskmate, and also Lu Chen's first girlfriend. Their relationship was quite sensational at Binhai Middle School at that time. Unfortunately, like most young love, this beautiful relationship did not come to fruition. Lu Chen still remembered that when he secretly went on a date with Gu Xiaoman, he asked Ban Beibei to help cover for him. Now that he thought about it, it was really a different feeling in his heart. Lu Chen did not have the idea of going back to his old love. His heart had been filled by Chen Fei, but the memory of his first love had long been engraved in his soul, and he could not forget it for the rest of his life. Now that he heard news about Gu Xiaoman and knew that she was doing well, it was enough. Lu Chen asked, "Old monitor, do you have a boyfriend in the UK?" Ban Beibei laughed, "No, I don't like British boys." "Why? Do you want to introduce me?" Lu Chen couldn't help laughing. "I really don't have anything to recommend." The two chatted and laughed, and talked about many things in the past until someone came to the classroom. "Hey, you guys. The person who came was in her 50s or 60s, with gray temples and an old face. Her clothes were very simple, but when they saw her, Lu Chen and Ban Beibei stood up together and said, "Teacher Kong." This was Lu Chen's former class teacher, and also the language teacher. Teacher Kong looked at the two of them in a daze, and after a moment, she suddenly showed a look of understanding. "Lu Chen, Ban Beibei." Lu Chen and Ban Beibei smiled at each other and greeted together, "Hello, Teacher Kong." At this moment, it was as if they had returned to the past. Chapter 877. Teacher Kong was very happy to see Lu Chen and Ban Beibei. At that time, there were 57 students in Class 5 of 98 in Binhai Middle School. Ban Beibei and Lu Chen were undoubtedly the two most outstanding students. Ban Beibei was the class monitor. Not only was she beautiful, but her academic performance was also excellent. Teacher Kong loved her as her own daughter. Ban Beibei worked hard and won honors for the class one after another. Later, she was admitted to a famous British university and studied for a master's degree. As for Lu Chen, needless to say, he was an influential figure in the school back then. Now, he has become a famous star in the country and the pride of Binhai Middle School. Now that the two of them returned to school together and appeared in the classroom where they had studied, how could Teacher Kong not be happy? Whether it was Lu Chen or Ban Beibei, they were also very respectful to Teacher Kong, especially Lu Chen. At that time, he was not a top student in school. Puppy love alone gave the teacher a headache, but Teacher Kong still gave him the greatest tolerance. Binhai Middle School was a key high school in the country. The school had a clear rule that students were not allowed to have puppy love. At that time, Lu Chen openly fell in love with Gu Xiaoman, which caused a great sensation. At that time, some school leaders said that they would give Lu Chen a demerit, but Teacher Kong protected him. In the end, Lu Chen only received a warning. Ban Beibei remembered this matter very clearly, and now she felt that it was very interesting to talk about it. Teacher Kong did not take credit. She smiled and said, "The main thing is that Lu Chen and Gu Xiaoman's love did not affect their studies, otherwise I would not agree. Now there are also students in love. I told them that as long as they can guarantee their grades and promise not to do anything to hurt each other, I will not interfere." Lu Chen gave a thumbs up and said, "Teacher Kong is wise." Teacher Kong shook her head and said, "In fact, whether in college or high school, although the relationship between a boy and a girl is very beautiful, it is difficult to have a happy ending. Only when you go into society and mature can you understand what real and responsible love is." She smiled and asked Ban Beibei, "Beibei, do you have a boyfriend now?" Ban Beibei shook her head with a red face, "Not yet, don't worry. The most important thing is to find the person you like and the person who likes you." Teacher Kong laughed. "Then Lu Chen, when are you getting married?" Everyone knew about the relationship between Lu Chen and Chen Feier. Although Teacher Kong did not care about the entertainment gossip, he knew about it very well. Lu Chen said, "If there are no accidents, it should be next year." Ah. Ban Beibei pursed her lips and smiled. This is big news. Has it really been confirmed? Lu Chen and Chen Feier had been dating for several years. They were known as the best model couple in the entertainment industry. Countless fans hoped that this beautiful relationship would blossom as soon as possible. There were even many people who wanted to force them to marry each other on their blogs. Although Ban Beibei was far away in the UK, she often visited domestic websites and blogs, so she knew a lot. If Lu Chen's words were to spread, it would definitely make the entertainment headlines. In front of the teacher and old classmates, Lu Chen had nothing to hide. He said frankly, "Basically, it has not been made public for the time being. When the time comes, I will invite you and Teacher Kong to the wedding." Ban Beibei clapped her hands. "Then I have to prepare the red envelope first." Teacher Kong looked at the two students with a smile. In fact, she was more optimistic about the couple of Lu Chen and Ban Beibei. Unfortunately, the two were not destined to be together and could only be good friends. Ring ring ring. At this time, Lu Chen's cell phone rang. He immediately picked it up, said a few words and hung up, and then said, the celebration in the auditorium is about to begin. Teacher Kong, teacher, let's go together. Oh. Teacher Kong was annoyed. I forgot about the business. Let's go. The three left the classroom together and rushed to the school's auditorium. When Lu Chen appeared in the auditorium, everyone's eyes were focused on him. Binhai Middle School has been educating people for 100 years and has trained batch after batch of excellent students, including government officials, well-known entrepreneurs, and literary and artistic figures. But among the young people, no one is better than Lu Chen. He is like the sun, shining. At this celebration, Lu Chen, as one of the alumni representatives of Binhai Middle School, spoke on the stage. Although it was only a short 7 minutes, it won many warm applause. In the afternoon, Lu Chen attended the Lu Chen Bursary Fund ceremony also held in Binhai Middle School. This was a fund project established by his personal donation of 50 million yuan, mainly used to encourage and help outstanding and poor students in Binhai Middle School, affiliated high school, and affiliated primary school. This fund project was established a few months ago. It was Lu Chen's return to his three alma maters, affiliated primary school, affiliated high school, and Binhai Middle School. His mother, Fang Yun, served as the chairman, managing and supervising the fund to ensure that the funds were in place. After the ceremony, Lu Chen was received by the mayor of Binhai City and the secretary of the municipal party committee, and then he was interviewed by the TV station. It was not until 8:00 in the evening that he hurried to the gathering place. The gathering of Class 5 of 98 was held in a local 5-star hotel in Binhai. When Lu Chen arrived, a group of high school classmates had already finished their dinner and moved to the hotel's karaoke bar. When the waiter opened the door of the big room and invited Lu Chen in, the people inside were wailing and singing. The long sofa was filled with at least 30 people. Everyone was drinking and chatting. It was very lively. At first, no one noticed, thinking that it was a waiter or a student going to the toilet. It was a girl with sharp eyes who recognized Lu Chen. Ah! She involuntarily opened her eyes wide and screamed with her top soprano voice, Lu Chen. Lu Chen took off his sunglasses and said with a smile, Liao Shasha, your banshee's howl has been trained to the peak. This girl's name was Liao Shasha. She could emit a scream that could shatter the eardrum. Therefore, the boys in the class jokingly said that she had mastered the banshee's howl skill. Now, it was used by Lu Chen to tease her. The atmosphere in the room instantly froze. Several mic lords holding the microphone were speechless. Only the accompaniment music echoed. Lu Chen smiled and said, Lao Wu, Fang Jian, Zhao Linsheng, Li Yuan, Zhang Zhenqin. Long time no see. The long time no see instantly closed the distance. The next moment, the atmosphere in the room was restored to the festive atmosphere. The male and female students all gathered around, shook hands and hugged Lu Chen, patted his shoulder and said hello. The estrangement and strangeness of not seeing each other for many years was washed away by the joy of reunion. Chapter 878. Binhai is not a big city, and its history is not very long. Its population and urban size are in the middle and lower reaches of cities of the same level, but its economy is quite developed. Especially in the last 30 years, many Binhai people have traveled across the sea to seek development in foreign countries. They are quite famous among overseas Chinese. Those Binhai people who have become rich in business have a strong sense of hometown. Many of them have come back to start businesses and companies, and use various ways to repay their hometown. Donations and good deeds are everywhere. Lu Chen's donation of 50 million yuan to his alma mater was actually following this tradition. On the other hand, it was also because he bought an island in the Maldives not long ago, which caused some criticism on the internet. Although it didn't set off any storm, donating money to education undoubtedly helped to consolidate his image. In a few years, Fang Yun will retire. She is reluctant to leave everything in Binhai and settle down in Beijing. With the title of chairman of the foundation, her retirement life will not be so lonely and boring. Fang Yun is also very supportive of this. After attending the centennial ceremony of Binhai Middle School, Lu Chen came to Hangzhou without stopping. On the evening of the 31st, he will participate in the New Year's Eve concert held by Zhidong Satellite TV at Hangzhou Huanglong Stadium. 2 years ago, Lu Chen bought a house in Hangzhou's Shizihao Yuan, so now that he is back in Hangzhou, he is not afraid of not having a place to stay. This 470 square meters penthouse mansion is empty most of the time. Before Lu Chen came, he had notified the property management company to have it cleaned. The house is large and clean, but because no one has lived in it for a long time, it looks deserted, which makes Lu Chen, who is alone, regret that he should not have bought such a big house. However, he doesn't really regret it. This house is a rare and out-of-print type. In the past 2 years, the price of houses in Hangzhou has risen sharply. He can easily sell this house for 20 million yuan, and he is sure that someone will be willing to take it over. After resting on the sofa for a while, Lu Chen took out his mobile phone and called Gao He. "Old 3, why did you think of calling me?" Gao He quickly picked up, but there was a hint of ridicule in his voice. "Did you suddenly remember that there is your own company here?" Lu Chen was speechless. To be honest, he didn't pay much attention to Happy Entertainment. He only gave them a few game ideas and left everything else to boss Gao. Pretty much all of Happy Entertainment's daily operations were managed by Lu Shi's side. She sent 2 people from the finance department to be stationed in Hangzhou, and as the chairman of the company, he only spent a few days here. From a business point of view, Lu Chen was completely unqualified to be the chairman. It was too easy for him to be taken over by others. Who knew when he would suddenly go bankrupt? But Lu Chen trusts Gao He. Perhaps this kind of trust is incredible to outsiders, because in the face of money and interests, friendship is difficult to withstand the test. Lu Chen really doesn't care. Gao He has never failed to live up to his trust. Happy Entertainment is thriving, and several mobile games launched this year have made a lot of money. Cut the crap. I've just arrived in Hangzhou, and I'll be freeloading your lunch. Gao He smiled and said, "Let me treat you. Then let's go to the back street and eat." Lu Chen smacked his lips. "Okay, I'll see you at the old place." This time, Gao He was shocked. "Are you really going to the back street to eat?" Lu Chen despised. "What's the problem?" "I'm going now. You can come with your wife." Gao He said, "Shaoling can't come now. Let's meet and talk." His voice was a little strange. Lu Chen didn't think much about it. He hung up the phone and rushed to the back street from home. The back street was not called the back street. It was a small street behind Zhanghai University. It was popular because there were many small restaurants and small hotels. Lu Chen and his roommates often ran to the back street to have a sumptuous meal. The familiar back street, the familiar scenery, the familiar smell of oil, and the familiar menu. After graduating for a few years, it seemed that nothing had changed here. Lu Chen, who returned here, couldn't help but recall his carefree college days. The old place where they agreed to meet was called Sichuan Cuisine Restaurant. The main dish was Sichuan cuisine. Boiled pork slices, pickled fish with pickled cabbage, and beef lung slices, spicy tofu, and so on. The taste was authentic, and the price was cheap and the quality was good. Lu Chen came early, so he grabbed the seat. If he came in a hurry, there would be no empty table. The owner of the restaurant was still the middle-aged uncle with a silly smile on his face. The proprietress was still the shrewd proprietress, but the waiter was replaced by a refreshing Sichuan girl. She asked Lu Chen what he wanted to order in Mandarin. The little girl was holding the order list in her hand, and her eyes were fixed on Lu Chen's face. She probably felt that Lu Chen looked ridiculous wearing a pair of big sunglasses. The customers here were mainly students, not like him. Lu Chen coughed twice and ordered 4 or 5 dishes in a row, all of which were the boss's specialties. In order to protect his throat, he rarely eats too spicy food, but it doesn't matter if he enjoys it occasionally. Otherwise, it would be too boring to worry about this and that. As soon as he finished ordering, Gao He came. Although he is the general manager of a well-known game company with a market value of more than 1 billion yuan in the industry, Gao He, who came to the back street to eat with Lu Chen today, doesn't look much different from before, except that his temperament has matured a lot. I deliberately changed my clothes and came here, Gao He smiled and said to Lu Chen, on the way here, I was thinking about whether you will cause trouble when you come here to experience life. I was thinking about whether I should call the police first. Bullshit. What do you mean by experiencing life? Lu Chen couldn't help but give him a contemptuous look, but unfortunately, it was blocked by the sunglasses. This is called reliving, recalling the good times of the past. You won't understand even if I tell you. Gao He laughed. The old rules, the last one to drink first. Lu Chen skillfully picked up a bottle of beer and opened it. He first poured a glass for Gao He. You didn't drive here by yourself. By the way, what happened to Xiaoling? Just now, he heard Gao He's voice on the phone was a little strange, and he wondered if something had happened. Gao He picked up the glass and drank it in one gulp. He smiled and said, I'm going to be a father. Xiaoling is at home. What the hell? Lu Chen was stunned. You didn't call me to tell me such a big thing? Gao He returned a contemptuous look. I'm a father, not you. What's there to say to you, unless you are willing to be the godfather of my child? Lu Chen was convinced. You are ruthless. Seriously, Gao He picked up the bottle and filled it up for himself and said, I'm going to be a father soon. When are you going to be a father? Everyone is very concerned about this problem. Lu Chen laughed. Let's not talk about this first, let's drink. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.